Hey guys and girls, we are live for this special live stream. So tonight we will be finishing off our top 50 TV characters live on stream. So we've reached the final countdown, 15 to number 1. You can find the rest of the list over 3 other parts which are up on the channel now. And yeah, that's what we're going to do, a special live stream to finish it all off. This was to mark a kind of anniversary of us working together, which was in January. So finally going to finish it tonight. So just to say, I've got some images lined up, although I've had to guess what Rachel's picks are. So it's a fun little experiment, see how many I've got right. And there will be an edited version of this stream where I will add in all the rest then I don't get right. So that will be fun. But we welcome your comments and reactions in the chat. But because time's kicking on and we're probably going to be here for a while, it's a good time to test my guessing theories, because we're going to start off with Rachel and Rachel's number 15. What is it, Rachel?
Alrighty. So my number 15 comes from a shared show that we have, a show that both of us love, female character, very buxom, beautiful female character, and that is the wonderful Joan Holloway from Mad Men. So Joan was one of those characters that going into the series, I knew I was going to love. I'd already seen some things about Mad Men. I'd watched some videos on, the show. And I knew instantly that Joan was going to be my type of character. She's fierce and she's independent. She's very
Becca,
interesting,
welcome.
though. Oh, hey, Becca, how you doing? Glad you could join us. First one in. Just naming my number 15 favorite character, the wonderful Joan Holloway. But Joan's such a great character because I think she's a real look at the old transitioning into the new, because obviously with Mad Men being set in the 60s, the female characters in particular are very transformative, because they're in an era where they're finally starting to get a little bit more power. They're finally starting to be allowed into the workplace, albeit, very slowly. And you have a character like, for example, Peggy, who is obviously a very modern character, very new. She's got her career, she's building it. And then you've got characters like, say, Betty, who are very much stuck in the 50s. I think that Joan gets the balance between those two, because when we first meet her, she very much is saying to Peggy, if you play your cards right, you'll find a husband and you'll be able to move out into the suburbs. And she obviously wants to marry her rich doctor, but then she finds life doesn't go for her the way she planned, and she ends up becoming more of a modern woman, and she runs that business. Their business would not survive without Joan Holloway. And it really does suck that over the course of the series, she doesn't always get the respect that she deserves. Now, another thing to do with Joan that I love. Now, I would never, ever claim to be even in the same realm of attractiveness as Christina Hendricks. However, we do have similar figures. And she does. That's bullshit, but that's really sweet. But being similarly figured, I do very much identify with Joan's struggle to be taken seriously when you do tend to look like that, and because it's something that I have struggled with my whole life. And so I really love that I have a character like that. Absolutely agree, Becca. That's why I said I would not even deign to say that I was even near the same realm of like attractiveness as that woman, but I definitely identify with certain things about her character to do with her figure and the way that you do not get treated seriously when you are a little bit more buxom and you look a little bit more like Jessica Rabbit. But yeah, I think Joan is such a great character. She has so much growth, and Christina Hendricks.
Nothing wrong with Jessica Rabbit.
I'm sure she would agree.
I'm sure.
But yeah, no, Joan, great character, great growth, fantastic actress, and she was the first character that I fell in love with on Mad Men. And yeah, I just absolutely love her. So she comes in at number 15 for me, Joan Holloway.
That's a good choice. Jeez, Becca, too much information. Come on.
Well, at least now we can picture her.
Yeah. We're now creeping.
We're getting very personal here on today's stream.
Yeah, interesting. That's a character I may or may not have on my list, but she's very good. And the actress also made an early appearance in Firefly as well.
Yes,
Appeared
she
on
did,
that
as
show.
Yosaf Bridge.
Yeah, so some have, Becca. Okay, my number 15. I'm going back to the Star Trek first, and it's my favorite Star Trek captain, and that is Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart.
Nice.
So I think he is the best captain. Now, when it comes to Trek captains, I pretty much go for him or Shatner as Kirk, and I think that's just because they were the two originals, and I think they're both iconic in their own ways, which is why Picard works so well, because he was a bit of an alternative to what Kirk was. But I always think of them as like the sort of they set the standard. By the way, okay, couple more. Well, Kirk was earlier in my list, Becca, so you can check that out. Sorry, Spock was earlier. Hey, Night, welcome. Welcome to the
Thanks
channel.
for stopping by. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. We're just running down our characters list. Captain Picard is a legend, yes. So Patrick Stewart, who was like a virtual unknown at the time, like I think he'd been in a couple of movies. I know he was in like David Lynch's Dune in a small role, but he hadn't been in like much. And I think had more of a stage background. He was known for like Shakespearean like acting. And that's what I really like. He brings that to his Trek character. He brings that with the famous Picard like motivational speeches. Thank you, Mike. Thanks everyone for joining us. He of course comes up with his own phrases which are iconic, like engage or let it be so, which is kind of his whole thing. The motivational speeches. And he just gets a nice middle ground between him and Kirk, because Kirk was sort of like the classic renegade, like sex symbol who didn't always play by the rules. William Shatner, very much a rock star, like a movie star.
Oh, yes,
like
yes. Very
in
sexy.
The classes. Very sexy. Even now, I'm sure. And
yes, absolutely. He's definitely getting the chicks now.
Well, and the guy's been to space, so that sort of seals the deal.
True.
Bombastic. That's a great word for it. Bombastic. But what I like about Picard is he sort of takes some of that from Kirk. Kirk was sexy, but then he adds, some of his own kind of his more disciplined, sort of serious, mature sort of nature, and he has his own more code. He has like a complex and fun relationship and chemistry with most of the cast. Obviously, the big ones being Riker as his number 2. They definitely have some great male bonding going on with them, and very standout is the relationship with Data, the android on board, who is very much is like a more progressive, like a newer version of Spock. And that's definitely something which stands out, is like their relationship and how Picard almost teaches him how to be more human, but they sort of learn things off each other. And you have Q, who's like this holographic sort of like entity, almost like a Joker type figure, is constantly stirring shit up, but he can appear to them in any form. They have a love-hate type relationship. Yeah, Kirk will always be top tier to me, Knight. Yeah, he's always going to be up there. I mean, I grew up on Kirk. I would add Cisco as well from Deep Space Nine. He would be my third choice, my third favorite. First African American character, captain. And of course, Janeway, who was the first female character on Voyager. So that would be Becca's vote. Yeah, I know you don't like Deep Space Nine, but I so
Becca's
disagree.
Getting spicy.
Yeah, I might have to kick her off the stream, because she was nice. I mean, that shows up and down, but she was a great captain. But No, Deep Space Nine is one of the best Trek shows. You're just gonna have to deal with it. But yeah, you've got the stuff with Q, and I love the fact that they go as dark as they do with Picard later on in the series. Like you have that kind of, him becoming a Borg. I mean, that was a very bold thing for them to do, especially that late in the show, because Next Gem was hello, Bearded Entertainment.
Hey,
Thanks
Bearded.
for the sub. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, like that was late on in the show, and that was the last couple of seasons. Like Next Gen became a bit more serialized. For many years, it was like it started out as maybe a bit more of a traditional show, but yeah, like Trek show. But it did become more serialized, and that was a great end. Hello, Julie. They're all flooding in now. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream.
Knight gets a lovely shout out. So thanks, Knight. That's awesome. And welcome, guys. Keith is awesome. So definitely keep coming back to him.
Cool, Keith.
Well, usually. Yeah. Sometimes he has some bad opinions. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think we might get to some later in the stream. I just have a feeling. Okay, so number 15, Captain Jean-Luc Picard. That's my choice.
Very cool. Obviously, I'm not a Trek fan. It's not really my thing, but I obviously know about Picard, and Patrick Stewart, always great. I got a little funny bit of trivia for you. So Commander Riker, who you mentioned, he actually has a trope named after him. So there is a trope called growing the beard, which basically is the point at which a TV show gets better, and it's marked after he grew a beard on Star Trek, and that happened to apparently be a bit of a turning point for the show. So that's become a trope now. So anytime you hear someone say that a show has grown the beard, that's where it comes from. It's kind of the opposite of jumping the shark. So I thought
that's great.
That'll be a fun little piece of trivia for you.
Quite the beard it is too.
It is a very magnificent beard. Absolutely. Very cool. All right. So my number 14 character is another Mad Men character. And you'll probably be surprised that this character is above Joan Holloway. But this character just completely, captured me and grew on me in so many ways. And that is the wonderful Betty Draper from Mad Men. Now, even though Keith starts trouble.
I am the Q of those streams. I think it's fair to say. Did you say Keith, Betty Draper?
Yes, Betty Draper, which I know is odd to have above Joan Holloway. But the thing for me is Joan is obviously supposed to be a likable character. You are supposed to like Joan. She is very personable. She's very charismatic, whereas Betty is very obviously not a likable character. I think that January Jones does such a great job with her. I know that January gets some criticism for her acting, especially if you've only ever seen her through the X-Men films. But as Betty Draper, she is amazing. And Betty, to me, is one of the most tragic characters on Mad Men, because she is so much trapped by the time period that she lives in, by the patriarchy that she lives in, and by the rules of society that want to pigeonhole her into being this perfect housewife. And I think watching her dynamic with Don in particular, her dynamic with her children, the way that you can tell that part of her does want a different life but doesn't know how to get it, all the betrayals that she deals with from her god-awful husband. Like, honestly, you just feel so sorry for this woman sometimes, the abuse and the gaslighting and everything that she has to put up with. But I also think that Betty does have a decent amount of growth, and I think, unfortunately, her growth gets overlooked, even by the producers of the show. Like, her ending, I won't give too many spoilers just in case no one's seen Mad Men, but the way her ending on the show ended up, I thought was a completely unfair ending, because it left no room for her to grow. And I remember the creators talking about how, Betty's trapped, she's forever trapped in the 60s. It's like, no, well, you wrote her. You don't have to trap her there. You can move her on if you wanted. What's Becca saying? Yeah, one was married to John Hamm. That would cause issues. Probably. But I mean, but he is just so pretty.
Well, she might have meant that the other way. But no, she probably does mean because he's a troublemaker. Yeah.
But I think Betty Draper she's such a fascinating character. And I particularly like unlikable female characters because they're not always allowed to exist as well as Betty does. Unlikable female characters often get punished. They often get looked down on in fandoms, et cetera, et cetera. But because there are so many unlikable male characters out there. I mean, just look at Don Draper, look at her husband, who have so many fans. So I think the unlikable female characters need a little bit more attention. And Betty is such a well-written, well-developed, and well-acted character. I just feel so much for her watching that show. And I know she can be a god-awful human being a lot of the time. She's probably the worst mother in the world. But I just think all of those flaws and all of that just make her such a fascinating character. So, yeah, that's my number 14, the wonderful Betty Draper from Mad Men.
No, that's a good shout. I agree. She's underrated and gets a bad rap. And yeah, I think January Jones is fine in the role. I particularly like the end to an episode. And I think it's even either season 1 or 2, but the one where she's a Madrim firing the gun and she's having that fantasy.
That's the first season. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. That's a great ending because I think you're meant to assume it's all in her head, but it's
no. She's actually out there shooting those pigeons. That girl,
really,
she's a Republican. Yeah, she got a gun. Yeah, that is real. Makes the ending even better.
Oh, that's funny because to me it's one of those where I was never quite sure if she was or not. Like I sort of read it more as it's like okay, just a quick question because in a way Becca's hinting at a show. Have you ever seen *Halt and Catch Fire*? I'm guessing
I haven't even heard of it.
I watched the first couple of seasons a while ago. It's like a tech sort of like drama type show set in the 80s. It's got Mackenzie Davis in and a few other people. Becca really likes it. It's one of her favorite shows.
I might have to check it out then.
It is worth checking out from what I've seen. It's an AMC show. Same network as Mad Men. DJ plays favorites. Hello, DJ. Welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, the cast is good.
Cool.
Okay.
Definitely one for the list then.
Becca really likes it. Cool. Okay. Well, just for those playing at home, I've struck out twice now because I didn't predict either of those characters for Rachel, which means, sorry, I don't have any images. I'll have to... Mackenzie Davis is great. And good in the last Terminator film too, by the way. But I'll have to add them in the edited version, which will be up hopefully tomorrow. Okay, DJ. Well, yeah, it's an unsung channel. What can I say?
Well, now you have heard of it, so it's fantastic now.
I hope you enjoy it. Well, that works out perfectly because my number 14 is a character from Mad Men. And I think she may be the best character of the show. And that's Peggy Olson, played by Elizabeth Moss, who I think has the best arc on the whole show, I would say, because of where she starts. She also has probably the best fashion on the whole show because I sort of love the way it all starts off very like muted colors, quite, Librarian and Virgil in the early seasons.
Yes.
But then as you move through the seasons, it gets a bit more like colorful and out there. And I remember that image of her with carrying the peanuts and the outfit she's wearing there, and that's quite sort of out there. But yeah, no, she has a wonderful arc, and she is kind of has chemistry with everybody on the show.
Yeah.
And she is one who just exemplifies what the show is in many ways. How she has to work her way up through the ladder, how she has to navigate those sort of sexist 60s waters.
Oh yeah.
And she has to earn the respect from those around her and kind of fight for it more than anyone else. Yeah, very versatile night, I agree. And Jason's on board.
Jason's here. Jason's here with his knitting needles.
Yeah. Welcome, Jason. Welcome to the stream. Yeah. Absolutely. There'll be some spirits haunting this stream before. But yeah, I think in many ways she is the most important figure, like female figure in Don's life, and I think she probably earns his respect more than any other woman in his life,
Oh,
which
definitely.
we're really tragic to say, because obviously he's got his wife at home. Thank
I
you,
know.
He's got his lovely daughter played by a young Sabrina Spellman. He's got that poor Megan at one point who becomes a bit of a sounding ball. But it's just so funny that like the woman he respects the most is Peggy. But yeah, no, she goes on a wonderful journey. I love her sort of connection with Pete. They sort of have an awkward start, but they do have quite a nice brother sister type vibe as well. And yeah, she's great. I mean, I think I've talked about the character but you get to see the full range of Elizabeth Moss over 7 seasons, and of the character. She gets to be vulnerable and witty. She gets to be really funny and, as I said, really stylish. But yeah, there's a lot of layers to the character, and I think she is my favorite Mad Men character. And we've got another newbie. Welcome, Jason. Okay, yeah.
Hey, Russell.
Sorry, Russell. I'm getting confused. Welcome to the stream and to the channel, Russell. We're just running down. This is the fourth and final part of our top 50 TV characters. So it's 15 to 1. And you can find the other parts on videos, on videos that are on the channel. Yeah, I did. She is very good in The Invisible Man. That's obviously one of her standout film roles so far. Very good.
Great.
Hello,
great
Scott.
Choice.
Welcome to the stream.
Hey, Scott. Everyone's here. Fantastic. So far, Keith and I are doing all right, but there may be some fighting later on. It really just depends.
You spread the word very well, Rachel. Your
look at all the peeps here.
Skills are paying off.
These are all the lovely Night Zone people, and they're all fantastic peeps. And you would have seen them all in Night's stream. So it's so lovely that you're all over here. Keith is good people, except for when he's disagreeing with me. But so far, so good today.
I think we might have watched that together, actually, Becca. I remember watching it on stream with you, and I know we disagreed. Okay. So we're now on to Rachel's number 13.
13. Yeah. So that was a great pick for number 14. And I love that there's some Mad Men characters. I do love Peggy. I just happen to love other characters a little bit more. But I definitely agree that she gets yeah, DJ, it was a long night last night.
She was telling me about it.
Yeah, it was a long stream, but it was a good one. It's going to be another long one today. But no, like Peggy, like you said, her arc is incredible. Like if you only watched the first episode and then the last episode of Mad Men, seeing how far she comes. And you're right, the costuming is and the costuming, I think, for Peggy in particular is so important because it really shows the evolution of her character and her confidence and how she evolves from, like you said, from like the shy little secretary to the high-powered corporate woman, and her clothing definitely informs that. And I think that moving into the 60s, she and Megan in particular are like the more modern dresses. So yeah, lots of fun. Fantastic choice. All right, so my number 13, I think we have our first crossover character. Now, you mentioned this character, I think, all the way back in like maybe number 20 or 30 or something like that. But I do remember you mentioning her. So she's higher on my list. But my number 13 is the wonderful Lane Kim from Gilmore Girls.
Okay.
So I've talked about this before, but Asian representation on TV, especially back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, was not great. So having a character like Lane Kim, who had a home life that was similar to mine, and who had a mother who was similar to mine. Russell, yes, you definitely need to check out Mad Men. Fantastic show. And with Lane, there was so much I related to. The hiding things under the floorboards. I mean, I didn't have floorboards, but I had hidden compartments in my bedroom. The sneaking out to meet boys, the not being able to do so many things that all your other friends could do, like totally related to that. So first of all, there was that component. Second, I think Lane is just such a great character. You know, Keiko Agena, who plays her, brings so much charisma to the character. Lane is so fun and so quirky. She's such a good friend to Rory. She was one of your predictions. Very nice. Yay, Keith got one right. Becca's still trying to get everyone to watch *Halt and Catch Fire*. She's in the chat just
simmer
just
down.
Saying, watch it.
Becca.
Yeah. But look, Lane Kim, just her entire arc, her being the, you know, the rebellious Asian teen trying to get out from like under her parents and forging her own path. I love her relationship with Rory. I love her dynamic with Lorelai. I obviously love Dave, who comes in season 3, played by Adam Brody. And I even don't mind her and Zach. My issue with Lane is that it was the pregnancy storyline. Like, I just thought that was the stupidest storyline to give her. It didn't go with her character. It basically ruined like her complete arc, and it just felt like such a downer ending for someone who obviously wanted so much more. Like, if that was what Lane wanted, then more power to her, but it wasn't, and I wish that they'd given her a better ending. I didn't need her to become like rich and famous and become a famous rock star, but like maybe another band tour, or maybe she becomes like a music critic, or maybe they open for a bigger band or something like that, you know. It would have been much better. But Lane is still a great character. She's probably like my favorite Gilmore Girls character of all time. And like I said, being a young Asian teen and not really having anyone who represented what my home life was like, it was so great to have Lane and to have someone that I could relate to. So she is my number 13, the wonderful Lane Kim from Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, that's a great choice, and I can't fault having her that high. She is fantastic, and I agree with everything, even where they dropped the ball a little bit with the character. But she does have a great arc and is just such a lovable, fun-loving character, very smart. And I love her relationship with Rory. I think they make the perfect sort of best friends, and so they're kind of different, but have similarities as well, and just gel really nicely together.
Yes, they work really well together.
And it's cool that the actress is still getting work as well. You know, I still see her pop up in things. Like she was in she's in 13 Reasons Why. She was also she was also in Better Call Saul. She had a small role in that. So she is still getting work. Yeah, Gilmore Girls is a great show. It's a lot of fun, and we are reviewing it occasionally on the channel. So you can find some of our reviews of that, Russell. It's a fun show.
It is.
Yeah, Lane Kim. Good choice. Very good choice. Okay. So my number 13, I've gone to the classic sitcom route, and one of my favorite characters from this show, and that is from Cheers, and it's Diane Chambers.
Very nice.
Played by Shelley Long, who is, criminally underrated, so talented, and should have had a better career in movies, but that's another story, of course. She will always be best known as Diane on Cheers for the opening 5 seasons. And, okay, I'll carry on. Rachel's talking to someone off camera, but...
Sorry. My father-in-law was just at my door.
Okay.
All good now. I'm back.
Yeah, so I think Shelley Long as Diane, I think she carries on in that tradition. Thank you, Russell. Of like Mary Tyler Moore in like the 70s as this more progressive, independent, tough, career-driven woman. And like the way the Diane character is introduced into this very masculine type bar, this working class environment, is that she's very much highly educated, book smart, and ambitious. And of course, you know from the pilot that she's going to end up staying longer term. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that she does have all that, and she tries to pass on the knowledge to the others. She tries to encourage them to get involved in arty stuff. And there's definitely moments where she gets smug because it is a comedy and she gets to be the butt of the jokes. But a lot of it is very sincere, and ultimately Cheers is one of those old school sitcoms where it is about the family within the bar. Like, it's almost like, yeah, I need to check out Wings. I haven't seen that, Russell. And of course that also has Kelsey Grammer in. He actually set the record for like most consecutive appearances on TV because he appeared in Wings, Cheers, and then Frasier,
oh wow,
all running together or after each other. So yeah, MASH is another good one, but yeah, so she becomes an instant member of the family pretty much. She of course has electric chemistry with Ted Danson as Sam. Like, I think they bring out the best and the worst in each other instantly, but they just have great physical back and forths, witty sort of banter. They're constantly trying to one up one another. I sort of like some of the playful moments like them having a game of like table tennis back and forth and kind of opening up. I absolutely love that scene. But that is the appeal of Diane, that she gets to be both very highbrow, intelligent, also sympathetic and very human, but she also gets to be the butt of the jokes and one of the boys. But there's so many quirky, cute things about her, like her sort of drawing caricatures of like everyone around the bar, things like that. And I love actually a season 4 episode where there's this bowling match against like this rival, and it's this guy who Sam just hates, and they go along, and it's meant to be like Cliff, who's like the extra player who's meant to be really good at bowling, and it turns out he just freezes because he's really nervous. And then they put Diane in, and it turns out she's got this hidden talent and turns out to be the secret weapon. So that
like
is what
champion bowler.
yeah, she really gets into it. So that's a gem. I also really love the relationship with Carla as the two women in the bar, because they are like polar opposites, but yet they both have that in common. And they've got a wonderful rivalry, but they also have like a begrudging respect. And that's what I like about Cheers for the time period, is it's actually pretty diverse in the setup of the characters and the dynamics, and how you see two very different women characters who are in the lead cast, and then a different kind again with Rebecca later on, which is what I was going to say. Obviously, Diane Sherry Long left after season 5. She wanted a Hollywood career that sadly didn't work out. It actually worked better for the show because it was like, it sort of freshened it up, because
things
I
up a
think,
bit.
I think the Sam and Diane thing had played out, but it's one of those footnotes where she's really talented and should have had a better movie career. She did return for the finale of Cheers, so that was a fitting like cameo in the finale, and then had a couple of appearances in Frasier as well. But I think Diane Chambers, one of the best sitcom characters ever, and I think also really influential for people like Julia Louis-Dreyfus later on, and also Tina Fey. So I like them. There's this sort of heritage that almost starts with the 70s, and then you can sort of trace it through. So let's check out a couple of comments. So Jason, no, I've not heard of that.
Might have to look into that.
Yeah, and I won't be surprised if it's on YouTube. I might check that later on. What are you saying nope to, Becca? Are you disapproving of my selection?
No, I think she's just saying she hasn't seen this series.
Okay.
Give a down, Keith.
I don't think I've done this. Well, I know she did. She's not a big sitcom person, so I think she might disapprove. But how can you disapprove of that lovely hairstyle?
I know, right? Pure 80s.
Very 80s. Fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Jason. Haven't heard of it. Okay. So yeah, Diane Chambers is my number 13.
Never seen Cheers. It wasn't one that was like replayed a lot when I was younger, so I never really saw it. But obviously, I have heard of it, and I know of the whole Sam and Diane dynamic. That's a very famous dynamic. It's used to describe other couples that have that kind of back and forth banter. And I know that you particularly like couples that way. So yes, I'm not surprised to see a Cheers character on here. So very cool. Woody Harrelson was in Cheers. Oh, that's cool. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, he replaced the coach character who was in the first few seasons because the actor died, and it's sort of it's funny. It's a pre-fame Woody Harrelson, really. It's the role that kind of made him, and again, the show went from strength to strength because he's a great character.
Oh, I love Woody Harrelson, just so good, and it's so funny that he may or may not be related to Matthew McConaughey. So that's always interesting. All right. So we're up to number 12 now. So and when I say this, I think you'll know which characters I'm talking about. I am cheating a little bit with the next one because this next character is not technically from a TV series, but she is from a series. She just happens to be from a web series. But the web series went for 3 seasons, technically 4, and spawned a movie. So I think that it deserves to be in here. So my number 12 is the tiny gay Laura Eileen Hollis from the Carmilla web series. So for those of you in the chat, if you've never heard of it, Carmilla was a little web series that started all the way back in 2014 when there was a whole slew of like web blogs that were being made that were based off classic literature. So Pride and Prejudice had one, Anne of Green Gables had one, etc., etc. And this was based off the novella Carmilla, which was written by J. Sheridan LaFanu before Dracula, which I love throwing that little bit of commentary out. And this web series follows Laura Hollis, who has just started college in Styria because apparently she decided to go to college in Austria. Her roommate goes missing and she gets a new roommate who is the vampire Carmilla Karnstein, and all sorts of hijinks ensue. It basically plays out like a little murder mystery. It ran for 3 seasons. It kind of evolved into this big kind of high fantasy show, and it was just a really fantastic little web series. So Laura is the main character. She is played by Canadian actress Elise Bauman, and she is adorable. Laura is plucky. She's fearless. She's always rushing into situations without thinking about it, but she really believes in what she does. She wants to save these missing girls. She wants to save her school. She wants to live in a world without vampires, which is very, very hard when she's falling for her vampire roommate, Carmilla. And her and Carmilla together, one of my favorite pairings. Knitting Needle Murders, TV series. Oh dear.
It was on Netflix last time, Jason. Have they switched?
Starring Priyanka Chopra as Rachel.
Did Amazon outbid them?
Oh dear. I'd have to figure out who would play me. I could get one of the girls from Bridgerton.
It'll be Apple TV on the next stream. It'll just jump around.
So Laura Hollis was just a great character. She carries the entire show. She is the main character. She's the one that's always talking to the camera, and she's just fierce and she's amazing. And she kind of wanders into anti-hero territory, which I think is brilliant because you would not expect it of this character. And she just has a fantastic arc over the 3 series where she grows a lot and she changes. Her and Carmilla's relationship really it goes from strength to strength, and they have to kind of learn to coexist, and she has to learn how to date a vampire, and she's just adorable, and I love her so much. So even though she's not a TV character, I think because she is from a series and because she does get so much development, she deserves a place on this list. So that's number 12, tiny gay Laura Hollis.
Well, maybe
he can appreciate it now. I made him watch the series.
Yeah, no, that's a decent choice. A little bit on the high side, Rachel, but a decent choice. It makes me wonder if Carmilla will be on the list as well. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I forgot about that, so I don't have an image of that. So sadly, I'm sort of 3-1 at the moment.
I think. Keeps trailing.
But I think it'll pick up. Yeah.
Oh, no, don't turn me into an anime, please. No, I shudder to think what the voice would be like.
Yeah, the real Rachel is scary enough. We don't need the... the anime.
My God, the shade! You guys hearing this? The shade.
Well, that one was low hanging fruit. I couldn't not jump on that one, but yeah, we did review the Camilla TV series. At some point, we'll review the movie, but you can find our review. Hello, Jerry. Welcome to the stream.
Hi, Jerry.
Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, you can find our review, and you can find my brilliant fake out of Rachel at the start of that review as well, which I'm very proud of.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, my number 12 comes from one of my favorite shows ever. It comes from 6 Feet Under, and this is one of the best TV teenage characters ever, in my opinion, and that is Claire Fisher, played by Lauren Ambrose.
That's a bold statement.
Yep, stand by it. So I think one of the things I was thinking about when I was putting her on the list is, first of all, how in many ways, I think she is so central and so important to everything in 6 Feet Under. And I was thinking about how you literally have this coming of age arc for her over the course of the show, because it's 5 seasons. And at the start of series 1, she is a little bit of a typical, like, moody, angsty, sarcastic teen. She's only 16. And by the end, she's grown into a well-rounded 21-year-old. Well, it was HBO, Russell, but yeah, it was one of HBO's first big landmark type series, dramatic series. But yeah, so I really like that about the show, and Becca's a fan as well. And you get the full arc with her. Lauren Ambrose is just so wonderful. I'm a massive fan of her. She needs to be in more stuff. Obviously, she's in Yellow Jackets at the moment, but yeah, it's partly that. And also I thought about how really 6 Feet Under debuted right before 9/11, like a few months before it. But then it obviously oversaw 9/11, and it sort of took in the aftermath, and it made me think what an important factor 9/11 is in some of the drama of the show, especially with this character. I think it really impacts on her worldview and kind of makes her a bit more like troubled and like cynical in many ways about, you know, the country she's living in and its place in the world. And that really comes to a head in the final season, actually, like when she's in a particular relationship with a guy, and it's really powerful stuff in that final season. But yeah, Lauren Ambrose is such a natural, and you don't really question, because I mean, I think she would have been at least in her early 20s when this show was on, and you don't really question it. You sort of do believe that she is 16 at the start. And like, another way I look at it with her character is she's almost like an insider, but from an outsider's point of view within that funeral home, growing up with it. It's almost like she's introduced to all this morbid stuff.
Yeah.
And it becomes this weird, freaky experience for someone of that age who maybe shouldn't be exposed to it. So it's almost like she's like an insider, but looking out from like the fringes of it, because she's obviously not in the family business. She's like, you know, a regular teen and stuff. And it just, seeing the show through her eyes, it leads to so many rich like situations, so many life experiences with different people, and some of it negative, some of it leads to her being like just more embarrassed and put upon, but also like at the same time it's kind of like it enriches her as well. Like, she embraces some of these experiences, and she has many great relationships over the course of the show, many troubling relationships. Great chemistry with the family. You get like a slow burn relationship with her mother, Ruth, who is like the opposite, this total traditional conservative Christian, and Claire's very cynical of that stuff. There's a standout scene, I think it's in the first series actually, when that they go to Claire, because Claire has like a therapist at school, and Ruth comes along and there's a session, and it's just like it's one of the most brilliantly done sort of scenes of that kind. Because Ruth is saying now, you have so much, Claire. You're so lucky compared to what I had and stuff, and Claire's like, well, see how she gets on this pedestal. It's sort of like she has this attitude of, just because I wasn't born in like a dumpster, I shouldn't want someone. So I really love that counterpoint between the two of them. But they do have a slow burn relationship, and Claire just has some brilliant lines. One of my favorites, thank you, Scott, which is in the second episode. And I don't want to give that much away because we will review it at some point. But I just love her line. It's when the dad is like, or they're reading out the dad's will, and it's like, basically she's been left money, but it's money for education. So
okay.
yeah. I think at 16 we would all be
pissed. Go. No teenager wants to hear that.
And also the catch is then if she wants it for like non-education purposes, she can't have it till she's like 21.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a double whammy. And she just walks out and she comes back and she says to them, it's like blackmail from beyond the graves. It's brilliant. But yeah, she's a great character, which really develops over time. She wants to become an artist, but she also realizes she has to kind of deal with the more mundane things in life along the way as like a stopgap. She has some I really love the friendship with Brenda, the Rachel Griffin's character. She has a troubling attachment to her boyfriend, not her boyfriend, sorry, her brother Billy. Who's played by Jeremy Sisto. Really great role for him. And also Lauren Ambrose gets to show off her singing skills in two standout fantasy scenes because she is a great singer. She's sung on stage. So
are you going to show off your singing skills now, Keith?
It's early. I might hold them back.
Hold back, okay.
But she does have this great one. Basically, it's in the 5th season when she has to work at this really boring like office job, and it's all about how she's wearing this clothes and like how the tights are too tights and that. And so she does this whole dramatic singing about how the pantyhose are too tight. It's awesome. On YouTube, so you should check it out. But there's a couple of standout scenes. But yeah, as I said, one of my favorite teenage characters of all time, and one of the best characters from one of the best shows, in my opinion. So that's Claire Fisher, my number 12. Nice. Let's see who Scott. You don't forget to. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
So Becca says, steal her quote from the pilot. You're like, that's a viable option. Usually when someone says that, have a good day at work.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. I think there's another one higher up, which I'll try and click on. Gets no better than the Bates Motel. The series gives me hope for future horror series coming to us in the future. The characters and actors made all the difference. So I think he's talking about the previous show he was flagging up. And Bates Motel, it actually isn't too bad. I quite enjoy it for what it is. It's one of the better ones of that sort, I think.
Jason got his Phantasm reference in.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to scrub off on Phantasm because, of course, next week on the quiz, you all get to quiz me. And if I know Jason, I reckon he's going to come with a Phantasm question.
Yes, he is.
So I better scrub up on that.
Nice. No, obviously I did expect characters from this show to be on your list because you do talk about the show a lot, and we will be reviewing it at some point in the future. But yeah, it sounds like a really interesting character, and yeah, saying the best teenage character of all time, that's a bold statement. So it does sound like she is
one of them, but yeah, definitely.
No, definitely. When we start watching, it's going to be very interesting to see which characters I end up liking. But you saying, her being raised in a funeral home, and having to be around that reminds me a little bit of like Vader from My Girl, like having to grow up in a funeral parlor and having all that weird like stuff. And
true.
yeah, it kind of makes me think of that kind of dynamic. And I do enjoy that one. So yeah, that'll be fun. Very, very cool. All right. So we're almost at the top 10. So number 11 before we hit our top 10, which will be very, very interesting. Well, you kind of predicted it with my last one. You asked me if Carmilla would be on this list. And yes, so number 11 for me is Carmilla Karnstein, who is the vampire and the titular character of the Carmilla web series. So played by an actress called Natasha Naga-Vanless. I am very, very surprised that I have not seen her in more things because she is fantastic as Carmilla. Carmilla is a really fun vampire. She kind of like subverts vampire expectations. So usually when you have a vampire human love story, take for example Buffy and Angel, you usually have the vampire wanting to be good for the human. The vampire wants to change their ways. Carmilla Karnstein is not interested in any of that. She loves Laura Hollis and she'll save Laura Hollis, but she is so not interested in any sort of redemption or playing the hero or making up for her 400 years of carnage. She just is a very apathetic character and very go with the flow and indulgent. And one of her arcs is learning to care about people and learning to step outside of her Laura obsession and actually engage with the world and become more of a part of the world. She also has an extremely tragic backstory. Oh, entertainment lover, that is so awesome. Oh, that is so great. I love bringing in new cream puffs. That's what the fans are called. We are called cream puffs. Keith is officially a cream puff now.
Apparently I am. I didn't know, but apparently I am.
That is so great. Oh, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, entertainment. And let us know in the comments who your favorite characters were in the series as well. But yes, Carmilla she's just so much fun, and Nat's kind of like blasé, apathetic performance of her is so much fun to watch. She's also incredibly sexy, so that's a huge plus. Like watching Carmilla is like, she's so pretty to look at. And yeah, just a fantastic character. Again, her and Laura, their relationship is so much fun to watch. I really love how it requires both girls to kind of grow and change, not just the vampire. Like Laura has to grow and kind of let go of her black and white morality. And meanwhile, Carmilla has to learn how to care more. Oh, and for those of you who have seen my cat, yes, she is named after Carmilla because Carmilla in the series can turn into a black cat. So we specifically got a black cat so we could call her Carmilla. But yeah, so that is the last one before we the last one before we get into top 10, number 11, Carmilla Karnstein from the Carmilla web series.
Okay. Well, that's fitting. That's a fitting way to finish off this part. And I should also say Rachel got a Doctor Who mug. Not because she likes Doctor Who, but because Laura has one.
Because Laura has one. Yep.
So that's a deep dive. That's a deep cut right there. That's impressive. But yeah, again, we reviewed it on the channel, so you can check out our review of all 3 series. And at some point, we will do the movie. Good stuff. Okay, so my number 11 is...
My cat isn't a vampire, Russell, but she does like to bite me, so you never know.
Maybe it'll come back in the next life as a vampire. Anything's possible. So my number 11 loves Camilla, Laura, and Lola.
Perry. That's awesome. They are great characters.
Which one's Lola?
Oh, Lola is Perry, the one who gets possessed by the demon.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So my number 11 is one of my male crushes on TV, one of the coolest FBI agents of all time ever. You might not know which one it is. It could be one or two. It's Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. Okay.
Nice.
Just missing out on the top 10, but he got in a little bit earlier than Fox Mulder and probably influenced like the Fox Mulder character, it's fair to say. So yeah, Cooper was, I think, a little bit of the nerdier version of Fox Mulder. With it being a David Lynch show, it was a little bit more nerdy and quirky and oddball. But yeah, just the fact that he played it so straight and made it so perfect, because the character is like a pastiche of that classic square jaw, sort of wide-eyed, innocent sort of character, almost like a schoolboy. And I think they play on that in the show, that they subvert that, because you sort of think this guy is clueless, and the way he stumbles into the town, I think the locals think, who is this guy? Is he really the one investigating this case of who murdered Laura Palmer? Twin Peaks is epic awesome. That's a great way to put it, and that should be a t-shirt, Jason. But yeah, it's really up there for my favorite shows, because I'm such a big David Lynch fan. But yeah, a bit like Columbo, that's sort of no, Twin Peaks can never go on too long.
Wasn't it only like 2 seasons? That's not really
well,
that long.
it's free now because of the revival.
Oh, true, because of the revival.
And you've got the film, and one day we'll cover all of them. But yeah, relatively speaking, it's not too, compared to some TV, it's not that long. But that's a debate for a different day. But I can see where you're getting at, Becca. But yeah, it's sort of in the tradition of Columbo. He subverts that. He has a method to his madness. So I really love his people skills and how he figures people's out. So you sort of have that sort of funny little gags where, like, in like an early episode, he figures out that 2 different people, Ed Hurley and Sheriff Truman, are both having like secret affairs. And, and he does it just through like the body language or the way they interact with the women. So the gag is like it's Norma who Big Ed is seeing, and she walks away from the table, and Cooper turns to Ed. It's like, so Ed, how long have you been seeing Norma? And he does the same with the sheriff later on. It's so good. And that just shows what the character is, like his sort of people skills and how in tuned he is to things. And there's a great scene as well where, like, Albert, who's played by the late Miguel Ferreira, who's like the opposite of Cooper, he's this more jerky sort of big shot, like FBI agent who comes in to like sort out the autopsy, and he comes in out of nowhere. And like he just upsets like the town doctor and is like really insensitive. But Cooper just like kind of stands up to him and uses like procedure back at him to like say, no, you don't really have jurisdiction here. And because like the guy hits him, like the doctor, and Albert's so funny, and it's like he hurt my nose, and Cooper's like, well, I'm sure he intended to do that. And it's just a great like character scene. And you have the classic scene in like series 1 where like you get the whole thing where he has the dream about, and he's in the red room, he gets told who killed Laura, he wakes up, he's forgotten it, but then he does the whole thing about how he then takes them out to a woods, and he does this test which is based on like Tibetan like mythology, like their sort of like religion. And the whole thing is he's got a list of all the suspects of the case, and he literally throws like a rock at like a bottle when they read out each name. And the idea is if it smashes the bottle, that may well be like the killer or the suspect. And he has this whole thing of like, if it like strikes the bottle but it doesn't break, sort of put them down as a potential suspect. But if it misses completely, they're not a suspect. So he just has a method to his whole madness. Oh, hey, Mushroom. Yeah, you mentioned that last night. Welcome to the stream. Loud House, a Nickelodeon show. But you did mention that last night, Mushroom. But welcome again. Yeah, so he has a method to his own madness. And that Tibetan stuff comes from Lynch's own beliefs as well. So that's something he's put in the character. I was going to say that damn good cup of coffee is one of his catchphrases. He also likes to start off the day with a bit of a slice of pie. And That's what I love as well. I think that's what ties him to like this working class community, is that he's such a simple guy, you know, everyday things is what makes him happy. He's got a very sensitive relationship or kind of friendship with Audrey, that character, because she has a crush on him. And
Sherilyn Fenn? Is that
Sherilyn Fenn? And the way he handles it, like, is so sensitive, and they have great chemistry and have some great scenes. Coming out with all the lines, Jason, is that he's now quoting the Log Lady, who is a classic character.
Okay.
And on the DVDs to season 1, at least, you can get, I think on season 2 as well, you can get the Log Lady's intros as well. So I recommend definitely playing them if you watch the episodes. But yeah, no, he's a wonderful character, so quirky and entertaining, so intelligent, and just thinks outside of the box. Obviously goes to some very dark and disturbing places, it being a Lynch show. Season 1 and 2 have 2 amazing cliffhangers, but I think season 2's cliffhanger sort of outdoes seasons 1's either, and it's sort of even more powerful, that season 2 one, because then it's left for like 26, 27 years, because the show got cancelled and then eventually brought back in 2017. So, and also in the return, like, Kyle MacLachlan does get to play the darker side of Cooper, and you can see he's really relishing that, and it really pays off in the performance. So he shows that he can do a number of different things in the return, but so many great quotes, yeah. But yeah, Kyle MacLachlan as Dale Cooper, I think he did change the game for FBI agents on TV. So that's my number 11.
Look, I knew Dale Cooper was going to be on your list, but I am way off because I thought he was going to be like number 1 because I know how much you love him. So I'm very curious now to see who your top 10 will be, because now I got no clue. No, Twin Peaks obviously is one I need to watch, and I'm very disappointed in myself that I haven't watched it yet, given what a huge Lynch fan I am. But we'll get there. We definitely
Thank you,
will.
Jason. Thank you.
Nice. But that's kind of cool, because as we go into our top 10, so here we are, top 10 favorite TV characters of all time. My number 10 is also an FBI agent. So we're keeping with the theme here. So going into top 10, my number.
Thank you, Knight. Thanks,
Knight. Thank you so much for dropping by and promoting and getting people in here.
Thank you.
It's been awesome.
Have a good night, and
see ya.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
Okay. Yes, so my number 10 is an FBI agent, another broody, dark-haired FBI agent, and that is Special Advisory Agent Aaron Hotchner from Criminal Minds is my number 10. So, Criminal Minds, like, when it comes to procedural crime shows, I think it really comes down to the characters, because so many shows are very similar. And I do really like Criminal Minds, and Aaron Hotchner was one of the characters that I just absolutely fell in love with. Thanks, Knight. See you later. He is kind of the leader of the team. So he is, at least for the first, I think, 12 seasons before Thomas Gibson got very rightfully fired for getting physical with someone on set. So I definitely agree with that. But I love Hotch. So Hotch to me is like the ultimate, like, Papa Bear. Like, he is always there to protect his team. You know, he's always there to be the one to pull them together, to encourage them. I also really love like a broody kind of like more stoic guy, and Hotchner is definitely that. You know, he's always being teased by the team for being the more stoic kind of, like, you know, doesn't let his emotions out. But I think he's a very emotional person, and he really knows his team. I love that he always knows when something's wrong. He always knows when someone needs time. He always knows, you know, how to handle his various team members when they're acting out, when, you know, they might be trying to go off on their own. Morgan in particular, Derek Morgan, is always trying to rush off like hot-headedly, and Hotch is really good at bringing him back down. I also think Hotch himself gets a really good arc. You know, we see his family life and we see his marriage disintegrate, and then of course he has that whole rivalry with the Reaper, George Foyet, which of course then infiltrates into his life, and he gets an arc there, and, you know, goes through some personal tragedy. And I really like watching Hotchner's growth, because when you first meet him in season 1, he does seem very sad and very, you know, not fun and very solid. But then you see him loosen up and you see how much he really loves his team. And like I said, I just love a protective leader. And I just really think Hotch is one of the best. He's also a really great agent. He's really good at what he does within the context of the show. You know, they're all really smart, but Hotch has been doing this the longest. So he often sees things that others don't. He has people come back from his past. He can remember old cases that maybe the others don't. I love his dynamic with Rossi, the other older, you know, veteran, and their little friendship is so cute. And the way that they're kind of, you know, besties, and they're like the older two set apart from the youngest kind of like mum and dad looking over their little pen of children. And yeah, I also think that Thomas Gibson, despite any behind the scenes crap, played this role very well. And I think that he gives Hotch a lot of really badass moments, a lot of moments where you can really understand why this guy is the leader, why he's the one that they all turn to. I mean, I think they give him some really good human moments. He's got a beautiful relationship with his son, Jack. There's a great scene I love where Jack can't decide what to wear for Halloween, and then he decides to go as his ultimate hero, his dad, and he comes out in a little suit with his little FBI badge, and it's just so cute. And I really love seeing that. So yeah, I just fell more in love with him the more I watched the series, and I was really gutted when he left. Like I said, even though I absolutely 100% agree with the decision to fire him, because no, you cannot be assaulting people in your workplace. That's not on. I hate that we lost the character.
Yeah.
And so that really does suck. But that's my number 10, Special Advisory Agent Aaron Hotchner from Criminal Minds.
Okay.
True.
Well, she is a big Charmed fan, so
I am a big Charmed fan.
possibly Charmed characters on the way. And he's also the one, I've asked you this before, but he's the one who's married to the actress who was in Dawson's Creek. In the show, I mean, the actress is the one who was
yes, Andy, the chick who played Andy, Meredith Monroe. Yes.
Cool.
All right, Scott, thanks for dropping by.
Scott.
It was awesome.
Have a good night. See you later.
See you later.
Okay, cool. Yeah, fair enough. So my number 10, I'm going back to another one of my favorite shows. So cracking into the top 10. And he lines up quite nicely with Cooper in a way, just because he is very deadpan, this character as well. It's a character from The West Wing, and it is Toby Ziegler, who is the communications officer. He is played by Richard Schiff, who is a really talented actor. Very underrated sort of character actor, but really never better than as Toby. And he is classic sort of deadpan, like a classic sort of deadpan nerdy grump. But what he does, which I think, yeah, there you go. I knew Becca would be down for this because West Wing is her favorite show, and I said to her earlier that there would be some characters she would approve of on the list. West Wing is a wonderful show. And or when you feel bad about politics, which let's face it is most of the time, it's a great one to put on as well. But yeah, I think the deadpan performance is a classic example of how you do that, because it's this sort of thing where seemingly without changing his expression that much, he's able to emote so much. And I think that's a classic example of how you do deadpan. And Schiff just brings this sort of tenderness to the character, this sort of like more gentle, cuddly side, but he still remains like he's very strong opinionated. He's got strong views on things. So things like censorship, which is a big storyline in one episode, censorship in Hollywood, also religion. His Jewish background comes into play in the show. And I think it's just a wonderful, he steals many scenes, and that sort of starts in the pilot type thing when he's like on the aeroplane, and like he's just got this line because the airline stewardess is trying to get him to like turn off the phone, and he's just like, he's got this whole line where he literally knows the make of the aircraft, like the airplane, and he says, you know, it was made like 20 months ago, it came off this line, and he's basically saying like how high tech it is. And so he sort of ends by saying, are you really telling me I can flummox this thing with something that I bought from Radio Shack? I mean, that line there really sums up the character. Like, it's a great intro to the character, his sort of sense of humor. Also, the fact that he just has this ridiculously niche sort of nerdy knowledge, which goes outside of his job, really. That's so brilliant. I also like in the same scene how, like, he has this line about how, because what another steward comes up and she's got a message from him, and it's sort of like POTUS has fallen off his bike in France, so that's obviously a code for president. But like, and she's like, "Is that right?" And Toby's like, "Yeah, that's right." Just deadpan. It's like he knows the president so well. This stuff is always happening. So that's great stuff. And yeah, he just, as I said, steals many great scenes. He has chemistry with so many different people. But I think out of all the characters, Toby is like the most relatable to the every like day person, the working class person. A great example of this is in that 2-part season 4 opener, where him, Josh, and Donna get left behind on like an event, so they're left behind off the bus, and they have to find their own way across this state and back to the White House. So it becomes this road sort of trip for them. And there's this fun gag between him and Josh where like it's something like they're doing a contest where they're like aiming at bottles, and it's kind of like whoever loses has to answer to everybody that they come across with I serve at the service of like the president or something. And the gag is that basically they're in this southern part of the country, which is, you know, a little bit more Republican voting. So they're not going to be, so that's almost like the dare. You have to say it to everyone, because lots of people have said, I didn't vote for him the first time, I'm not voting for him this time. But then you get a great scene later on where like he meets this guy in the bar, like, and the guy is telling him about how he can't afford his daughter's education, or it's like a struggle. And Toby sits down and has a drink with him. And later on, when he goes to meet Donna and Josh again, he starts talking about this policy and how maybe they can make it more affordable for people like him. And when he gets back to the White House, he actually calls the guy and he just says, you know, you met me in such and such place the other day, and he's going to tell him the policy. And like, it's like, I think we can work with you. So that's a great example right there. Yeah, he has a really endearing friendship with CJ, the Allison Janney character. I love their sort of dynamic. Later on, we get more of a like an introduction of more of a family life with Toby, which I think that's a charming little gem of the later series. And I also think, and again, I don't want to give too much away, especially since this is in the final series, but there's sort of a dramatic storyline with him in season 7, the last one, which basically pits him against the president. You know, like, it's this thing where he's potentially giving up, you know, he's using his moral code, but basically it's putting him in compromise of his duties to like the White House and the president. And it leads to this whole thing with him and others around the White House. I won't say exactly what it was, but the president has this great line as he's leaving. He says something like, Toby, I know when you leave here tonight, there'll be a lot of people who will be thinking you're a hero, but I don't want you to think for 1 second that I'm one of them. So it's pretty strong stuff. And but it's one of those great, it'll divide the audience which side you are on. And personally, I am Team Toby on that debate. I am taking him on the more high ground. But yeah, he's such a principled character with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, great deadpan dry humor, and just very endearing. And a great performance by Richard Schiff, I think. It's such a great somber cast, The West Wing. So it's very hard to pick your favorites, but I think he's up there for me as one of the best. So that's Toby Ziegler from The West Wing.
Nice. Well, I haven't seen The West Wing yet. I've seen bits and pieces. I've talked about this, but my best friend is a huge West Wing fan, and I know that she adores Toby. So she would definitely approve of that choice. I do think he's one of her favorite characters. But like you said, it sounds like, I mean, just that cast in general. I mean, Alison Janney and, of course, Martin Sheen and, all of them there. Like, they all sound like such a great cast and like such a great ensemble of characters. So yeah, definitely one that I will watch at some point. Also, Keith, I just noticed you hit 1.3 subscribers. You're at 1,300 now. Yay!
Thank you, guys. That's Thank you for the new subscribers.
Yes. So good. So well deserved. Excellent. Alrighty. So my number 9 is a character from a show I know that we both love. I don't think you've had any characters from this show yet, so it'll be interesting to see if any of them pop up. This is from a very, actually kind of progressive mid-2000s, very female-driven show, and this was she's one of my original favorite snow queens, ice queens, and that is the fantastic Brie Vanderkamp from Desperate Housewives, played by the amazing Marsha Cross. So I fell in love with Desperate Housewives the minute it started airing. I watched the pilot episode when it first aired and just loved the female drivenness of the show and the mystery angle. And Brie Vanderkamp was the first character that I just fell in love with. I was already a Marsha Cross fan because, and we've talked about this, we both love Kimberly Shaw, who was on both of our lists, and she's fantastic. And I think that Brie Vanderkamp, now I think I've talked about this before, but I love, Keith knew. Yeah, Keith guessed this one. Very nice. I love an ice queen. I love a female character who is unemotional. I mean, Betty Draper, this lovely chick. I loved Caitlin Snow on The Flash, and Brie Vanderkamp is like yes, it is an awesome TV series, Russell. It definitely deserves more love. Desperate Housewives. I think it's been a bit forgotten in the last few years, but it was so progressive for when it first came out, and such a female-driven show. And yeah, just so great. But Brie and her ice queen status, her unemotional status, the way she was always so poised and so perfect, but such a wreck inside. Brie has so much going on internally. She has possibly the worst taste in men. Her husband, Rex, is just kind of the worst guy ever. Her children are the worst as well. At least her son gets better. And her dynamic with Andrew is one of my favorites in the series because I think their relationship goes through so much. There's so much evolution, and Brie having to come to terms with him being gay, which unfortunately she does not handle well, showing how human she is, but she does come around eventually. And I just think Brie herself gets so much growth in the show because when she starts, she is very much the typical housewife. She's got the white picket fence, she's got the 2 kids. She, like, her introduction, they basically are saying she does her own upholstering, she does her own gardening, she does her own cooking, she does her own cleaning, she makes her own clothes. She's basically seen as the perfect housewife, but her family are god awful, do not appreciate her, and a lot of her struggle in the show is her overcoming her very deep rooted senses of being a Republican and having certain things that she needs to do, certain things that she needs to have in place. She's very concerned with appearances. She doesn't let her friends in that easily. And so watching her grow and evolve and change over this season is so much fun. I will admit, I do love Carl McLaughlin's character initially when he first comes in, and he and Austin and Brie do make a beautiful couple. Unfortunately, they do tend to mess that up just a bit down the line. But when they're together, it's really fun. And Brie has some really funny moments. I think that Marsha Cross does a great job of playing the dramatic side, but also the comedic side of Brie. She definitely gets all the emotional scenes down, but then when they want to really show off Brie's kind of stuck up side, they do that very well. And I think that towards the end of a series, she gets treated really badly by the characters. And the final season in particular, where the girls all kind of turn on her, is really hard for me to watch. And I don't love her ending because her Their ending, I think, backtracks her a little bit and kind of undoes some of the growth that she's undergone, because again, Brie is one of those characters that becomes so different. She learns to step outside of her comfort zone. She builds her own business. She learns to be an independent woman, separate from like being a wife and a mother. And I do think that her final ending does backtrack that a little bit, but I still think she's fantastic. And I think of all the girls, she really gets the most growth and the best arc. Maybe with the exception of Gabby, because Gabby does grow a lot as well. But I just love Brie so much. I have loved her since that show came out, and my love for her just continues to grow. And I think it's definitely helped by the fact that Marsha Cross is such a fantastic actress, and she's so good in this role. So, yep. So there's one that Keith managed to predict. Number 9. Brie Vanderkamp from Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout. No, I haven't seen all of it. It's one I need to go back to. So yeah, I've seen up to about season 4. I do love the stuff with her and Kyle MacLachlan's character.
Yes, they work very well
I agree that it's underrated as well, because it is a darker show than people give it credit for. Especially the first couple of seasons, I think. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's very well cast, and it's one of Danny Elfman's best themes as well, the title theme.
Yes, absolutely.
Very catchy, that theme. So that's cool. Yeah, good pick. And we did have Master Cross, both of us, for Maura's Place earlier, because we love that character.
Because Kimberly Shaw is just so awesome.
Absolutely. One of our favorite psychopaths, so without doubt.
Yep.
Okay, my number 9. Well, I'm bouncing back to 6 Feet Under for my number 9. And I've gone for a character I did mention earlier, and that is Brenda Channelworth.
Rachel Griffiths.
An Aussie. So Rachel approved, because you've got the Aussie factor coming in. And
the first name factor.
Very true. So yeah, Brenda Channelworth, I should say, is a character who divides people. So when we do it, I'll be very interested to see what you think of her. Very well played throughout the show by Griffiths, because she does have some of the most dramatic scenes on the show, because her stuff with Nate is really intense at times, and they have great chemistry, and she does some great acting in those scenes. But I think there was a bit of a danger when you see the opening episode of Brenda just becoming like playing up to that Maxie, that manic pixie dream girl type.
Oh, okay.
Show. Yeah. There was that danger the way she was like introduced, but I think it's because of how subtle the writing is and how complex the character is and the performance, then she moves away from that. And I think this is where the divide is with Brenda, because she has a lot of extreme pressure on her, because she comes from this very rich, demanding background. She is basically, because her parents like are so carefree and almost don't care at times, she's the one who is left to really deal with a lot of the messed up stuff with her brother Billy, Jeremy's sister, and they have a great chemistry and dynamic on the show as well. Very scary and tragic, but really great to watch unfold. But that's where I have a lot of sympathy, because, you know, I have personally kind of dealt with this stuff in my life as well. So I can have a bit more of a sympathetic outlook of what Brenda has to go through. And again, she is one of these characters. She's very ambitious and independent, and has, you know, ambitions in her life. One of the things she's not afraid to do is like change career. Like, she doesn't really just want to settle for, because when the show starts, she's like a masseuse, like, but over time she becomes a bit bored with that. She gets interested in like therapy and psychology, and that plays a big part in the early seasons, because Nate is constantly moaning about how he's like psychoanalyzing him, sort of thing, and playing mind games almost. But yeah, because she has those ambitions, I think that's what makes me feel quite sympathetic towards her, because she is constantly her career or her life is sometimes put on hold because she has to deal with all this extreme high pressured stuff, and what the parents put on her, it isn't really fair on her. And yeah, the stuff with her and Billy gets really dark at times, so that's something to look out for. And she's another another character, another actress who has great chemistry with pretty much anybody on the show. I love the relationship with her and Nate. I'll go back to the stuff with her and Claire because they have a great dynamic, because I think because Brenda is this more sort of modern, forward-thinking woman, then I think Claire looks up to her almost as like the big sister she never had, because obviously she has two brothers but has never had a sister. And I think Brenda's just about young enough, but she has experience of the world where she can relate to Claire and talk to her on her level. So I think it's a good sort of go between her family and this character of Brenda. So I really like their stuff and their sort of chemistry and how Claire looks up to her. And yeah, but as I said, Rachel Griffiths is so consistent throughout the show, and she's definitely up there for like one of my favorite characters, and really, really complex character. I think misunderstood. I think the character gets a little bit of a bad rap. She experiments with different things, like sexually. As I said, she puts herself out there. A very neurotic character at times, and you will see how people get frustrated with her. But as I said, I think sometimes those are the best characters, like the most rich characters, and she's a great example of that. So I think we will have some interesting conversations about Brenda when we get to 6 Feet Under. But wonderful actress, wonderful character. So that is Brenda Channelworth, my number 9.
Nice. Looking forward to meeting all of these characters. And yeah, there'll be some good discussions to have once we get around to the series. Yes, Rachel Griffiths is very good. Really do like her. So very, very nice. Okay, number 8. So my number 8 is a character from a show that we both enjoy, a verse that we both love. This is a character I actually think gets a little bit underrated by the fandom. I don't think she gets recognized for the character that she actually is, and that is the adorable Winifred Burkle from Angel, played by the amazingly talented Amy Acker. So I have look at that. Another one that was predicted.
I'm on a roll.
Keeps on a roll. He's doing well. Fantastic. I love Fred. I think she is one of the most resilient characters on that show. Like, I know that the Buffyverse characters all go through a lot, but this woman went through so much. The fact that she survived 5 years in a hell dimension by herself is insane. And I really love when she brings those skills into the Angel family. Russell's an Angel fan. Nice.
Fan. And we will be doing it soon as well.
Yes, we will definitely be reviewing Angel. But Fred is, first of all, I think she was such a great addition to the show. We needed another female because we'd only had Cordy for a couple of seasons, and I love Cordelia Chase, but we definitely needed some more estrogen on this show. So I was very, very glad when they brought in Winifred. I think that she was so different. You know, she's so quirky. She's got her neuroses and obviously her PTSD coming from Pylea. But I love watching Fred grow, because when she first comes out of Pylea, she kind of retreats into that kind of scared, nerdy persona. She obviously has her hero's crush on Angel, and she has to learn to let that go. She has to learn to kind of be independent. The episode Fredless, when her parents come back and she has to confront them, is one of my favorite episodes. And I absolutely love, because it really shows how much trauma Fred has gone through and how much she has to protect herself from that trauma so that she doesn't completely break down. And I just love seeing how it shows that, like, good memories and your family can actually be a trigger for you depending on what your traumatic experiences are. So I think that was just a great exploration of that. I love her relationship with Gunn. I think it is, yes, I agree, entertainment. Like, their dynamic was so good. I loved how they were such equals, Fred and Gunn. Right from the beginning, they talked about having each other's backs and being on the same foot. They would communicate openly. I mean, who knew open communication in a Whedonverse relationship? Oh my God. And you know, they actually really brought out the best in each other. And I won't get too bad. I won't get too much into the bitterness, but I particularly just loathe the Fred and Wes relationship because of what it does to Fred as a character, to Gunn as a character, and to the dynamic between the three of those characters. It was awful.
Shit.
But no, Fred,
Damn,
I think
the claws are coming out.
but Fred is just, no, she's a fantastic character. She definitely deserved better because her treatment in season 5 is still a huge source of contention for me. I do not love the way she was written in season 5. I do not love the way she was basically used to serve Wesley's character, and she definitely deserved a better ending than what she got. Like Winifred Burkle, like she says, she lived in a cave for 5 years in a world where they killed her kind like cattle. She does not deserve to be struck down by some monster flu. She is better than that. Just such a fantastic character. Another one who had chemistry with like everyone. Oh, good old Illyria.
There's the blue Smurf.
Illyria was an interesting character, and Amy in that role, like showing how diverse she was and how good she could be. And it wasn't about the makeup because we saw her as Illyria.
Thank you, Melissa.
You know,
welcome.
Melissa, hi, good to see you. Welcome.
Thank
but
you.
Yeah, Fred Burkle, so good, so strong, so resilient. Oh, another great episode that I think gets really underlooked is the magic bullet when she's out by herself after she's been disenchanted by Jasmine. Again, I think that one really shows how ruthless Fred can be and how smart and how independent and what's what I'm looking for, creative, you know, like she's very good at adapting to her environment and, you know, just figuring out what she needs to do to survive. So forever bitter about her end, as I am with so many first females, but Winifred Burkle, number 8, love her to death. So that's why she makes the top 10.
Good stuff, Melissa. I've still never seen Bones. It never really appealed to me, but
me neither.
Who knows? I'll try most things.
But yay, another Angel fan.
Well, big Angel, as I am, and I'm looking forward to those conversations. So, also that episode, Magic Bullet, doesn't it have the guy who had a small part in Lost as well? You know, he's the one at the bookstore.
The weird dude who's also in Mulholland Drive and does the winky scene. Yes, that is him. Yeah, he plays the bookstore owner.
I love that actor. Like,
me too. He pops up everywhere, and every time he does, he's always like so fun. Entertainment lover, you are so on point, 100%. And guys, I will be doing videos on the Girls of Angel over on my channel at some point, so watch out for that.
Okay. And to be honest, just to disagree with Rachel, I might just pretend that I think the opposite, and I might just troll those videos with all sorts of
rude.
And Melissa is loving my accent, which is very nice.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's passable. It's a good 7 out of 10. Accent.
Well, it's not. Look, it's not Dick Van Dyke, and it's not Keanu Reeves. So I think we're doing all right.
I'll see. Melissa has a lot of the same taste. Vampire Diaries as well.
Awesome. Melissa, do you watch the originals? You'll have to check out the originals if you haven't yet. Oh, awesome, Russell. Cool. Well, I'm currently working on my Cordelia one. That will be the first one to come up. So look out for that. Will be a long one.
I always think of that. You know the song with Harmony and Cordelia in Angel.
Which one?
The song about when the guy who fancied her at school.
Oh yeah. Oh Cordelia, how I'd like to feel ya. Yeah.
That's
terrible.
So it's terrible, but so funny as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we have a lot of fun conversations ahead with Angel. So yeah, we will be doing Angel on this channel as well as on the Buffyverse channel I run.
Oh, look, Keith, Melissa, Spike fan. Oh no!
Yes, get in.
No, boo.
And he's already appeared on my list. Great anti-hero. Yeah, we've got a lot of conversations, but she does get the worst treatment by the end, sadly. By the
Russell's both a Vampire Diaries and Originals fan. Nice.
Interesting. By the way, just remind me, because I can't remember all of your list so far, but have you had Cordelia yet? I don't think you
Yes,
have.
I had her when I did my group of. Remember, I
Okay.
had a clump of Buffy versus characters
Sure.
together, and yes, Cordelia
Okay.
was in there.
Yeah. Well, Cordelia might appear in my remaining ones, or she might appear in the other 50 to promote another stream that I'm doing later in the month. So look out for that. So my number 8, speaking of Lost, as I was a moment ago, my favourite Lost character, and don't tell me who I can or cannot have in my top 10, Rachel, because John Locke makes the cut. He's straight in at number 8. So played by Terry O'Quinn. I had to recite that line. I love that line.
Not saying a word.
So yeah, when we did our top 10 oddball characters, he was my number 1 choice, played by Terry O'Quinn, who I think was already quite an established sort of character actor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Russell, at the time. But I think Lost just took him to the next level, and it's now the role everyone will remember him for. And he is that classic sort of outsider, sort of kind of anti-type hero. And he just has the X factor. That's the way I always like to put it. He just shakes things up. He's controversial. He makes scenes more interesting. He has great dynamics with pretty much everybody on the show. And yeah, his backstory is just actually really tragic and beautiful. When we get like the flashbacks on the show, regardless of some of the faults and the flaws with the character as a person, I think that does make you care for him and have empathy with him a little more because of how tragic the backstory is. And because of the themes of loss, like it's sort of like it's that thing of like he sort of shows that more than ever, this idea of they're getting a second chance on the island. Like, in a way, their life wasn't that good in the real world, and they're getting this sort of resurgence on the island. But yeah, it's like he plays it so well throughout. As I said, he makes even the most one note of characters interesting.
True, that is true.
So I'll use Jack as a good example. Jack is the straight everyman who.
Poor Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate him as much as some, but I'm not a favorite of mine. He does get a bit bland and one note after a while. But like, obviously we've talked about the man of science versus the man of faith. Their whole conflict is just brilliant. I sort of love the way one of my favorite storylines in Lost is, I think it's at the start of season 4, isn't it? When they're both leading a camp each, and they're both
they're divided.
Because it's post Charlie. Spoiler.
Yes. So these are the ones who want to stay and the ones who want to leave. And yes, Locke takes one and Jack takes the other.
And that's a brilliant storyline, the way it brings together all the characters, but then gives you interesting conflicts and questions. It's like, who is the better leader? Who has the better strategy? And it's just a great way to bring all their sort of like drama and tension to a head with this fantastic storyline that brings together all these different characters. So I love that. As I've said before, because the Hatch is such a big storyline. So that's a great end to the first season. But I mean, even his scenes with Boone, and Boone is fucking boring as dishwater. By the way, did you know at one point Boone was going to be called 7 or something, or like a
God,
number?
glad that didn't happen.
Crazy. But anyway, it's like, he even makes Boone as wooden as he is quite interesting and like better in the scene. We obviously have the brilliant odd couple pairing of like him and Benjamin Linus, and like their relationship and dynamic is so important to Lost as a show. And yeah, just great chemistry, so many classic scenes with them. I also quite like his stuff with Walt, actually, the way he watches out for Walt.
Yes, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and again, that's a little bit on the edge because how is he overstepping his mark? Is he not?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
John Locke just has, and Terry O'Quinn just has this way of playing him where you're not quite sure how sincere this guy is or how much he's manipulating. Because it's a little bit like that with Claire and the Charlie thing, which he gets in the middle of. And it's sort of like, well, was he a bit much there? Like just bashing Charlie's face in? Is he overstepping his mark? But you can also see a lot of things from his point of view as well. So. Yeah, a wonderful character, and the fact that you find him so frustrating just confirms what a great character he is, because I think those are the best sorts of characters. And Terry O'Quinn is an icon just for this role. Like, I absolutely love the guy. I would love to go for a drink with John Locke. That would be a fantastic head trip of an evening. So, yeah, John Locke is my number 8 from Lost.
Very nice. Well, I mean, yeah, Jason, he was creepy in The Stepfather. He is very good in The Stepfather. I actually really like that role for him. That opening scene alone, so good. But look, I have talked about how frustrating I find John Locke, but I've also talked about how in the Lost verse, even the characters you don't like, for the most part, they are usually really interesting characters, you know? So like even as you were talking, like I totally agree with like pretty much everything you're saying. His dynamics with all the different characters are great. Terry O'Quinn is iconic, absolutely fantastic. No one else really could have played that role the way he did. For me, there are a lot of things about John Locke's character that, I'm just like, dude, why? What are you doing? Stop it. And he stopped my girl.
Blowing up the submarine. That's
exactly. He stopped my girl from leaving. And if you go against Juliet Burke, I'm sorry, but you're definitely earning a strike.
Thank you, Jason.
That's fantastic, Jason. But yeah, no, I knew some Lost characters were going to pop up in the top 10 because how could they not? I mean, it's Lost. It's a treasure trove of, amazing characters. So yes.
I also like I also quite like that scene with him, Saeed, and I think it might be Kate when they're at like the station. And I quite like, when he's just playing chess on that computer and Saeed gets really pissed off. That's such a John Locke thing to be doing at that point. What does Becca say? Can this later?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We would
love to hear it.
Yeah,
especially because there are so many great characters out there.
Have a think about it. Crazy.
They did too, didn't they? They all started in 2004. That's nuts.
Not a bad year for TV then. Yeah, and entertainment. We are planning on starting Lost later in the year. So
that's going to be intense. There will be some very long discussions for that one.
That'll be a head trip of
yes, it will be. Well, we'll see if any more characters pop up on either of our lists. But for now, for my number 7, I'm going with another character from Angel. And this is another character who I just think gets so overlooked and really deserved better. Again, not a female character this time. What was that, Keith?
Top people I would like to.
Oh yeah, Keith, absolutely. You should do one of like real people and fictional characters.
Okay.
Because that would be awesome.
I mean, I already sort of listed Toby. I said that was part of the appeal of the character. So I'll get on that, Jason.
Fantastic.
Carry on.
So coming in at number 7 for me is the wonderful Charles Gunn from Angel, played by the charismatic and beautiful J. August Richards. I'm always for characters of color, obviously, and God knows the Buffyverse needed some color, especially, moving to LA. But I do unfortunately think that Gunn, some of the overtones that they write him with, not good. Whoever chose Gangster's Paradise for that particular flashback, my God, would I like to smack your head into the concrete? Like, could you get more stereotypical? But when they are not writing him, oh my God, you're doing so well,
I'm
Keith.
on a roll now.
You're on a roll.
I thought you would have him. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, look at him. Gunn, not writing him through the very narrowly race lens that they sometimes write him through, he's a great character. First of all, I think he has a fantastic backstory. The fact that he is, he's already aware of vampires and demons. The fact that he's been living on the street and he has his own gang. His sister's death in his opening episode, I really wish the show had gone more into that, because it's only touched on a couple of times and it obviously had such a big impact on him. And I feel like that is a character point that could have been expanded more. That being said, his slow integration into Angel Investigations, I think, is really fun. How he's kind of the outsider, like the outside contract man that they just kind of bring in from time to time. But I like seeing him slowly get closer to them and slowly learn about their mission statement. I think his dynamic with Angel is really interesting.
Thank you, Jason. Maybe. I won't go that far. But I think entertainment makes a good point.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a long running problem, which I think over time is improving. But
they are slowly starting to rectify it, thank goodness. And we are definitely getting more representation these days. But Gunn being like the only character of color in, like, permanent character color in the Buffyverse, yeah, we could have done better. But yeah, his dynamic with Angel is so interesting because Gunn, he in his mind, vampires are the enemy. So to come across a vampire that he has to learn to trust, that he has to learn is not a bad guy, but still has the monster in him, I think that's really interesting. Like, I think that old gang of mine, as heavy-handed as the episode is, I do like the interactions with Gunn and Angel. Yeah, in season 2, I really love him, Gunn, and Cordelia. When Angel fires them and they have to go off and form their own agency. Those three as a trio, just so cute, so funny. I love his friendship with Wes, which is why I'm always so devastated that they ruined it with the love triangle, because him and Wes, again, it's kind of that oddball couple. Like, you'd never expect this stuffy English, upper school men to make friends with, like, this on the streets LA kid, but they make friends and they're so beautiful together. As I talked about in my Fred portion, I love his relationship with Fred. I think that it brings out the best in both of them, and I love watching them grow together. Unfortunately, seasons 4 and 5 is where the big issues with Gunn start. Season 4, he gets tossed aside for Wesley in the love triangle and portrayed in not a great manner. And season 5, he has that storyline, with Wolfram and Hart. And I feel like that storyline does not delve enough into why Gunn would choose to get that brain upgrade. Like, he didn't have the same privilege that a lot of the other people in the Angel Investigations had. He didn't have the privilege of going to school and having the option of going to university, and he's never felt like he was as good as the others. So I think that season 5 was a real missed opportunity to explore that side of Gunn and to get really deep into the character and what he was feeling and what his upbringing was like. But for when we do get Gunn, he's fantastic. I love that he's always thinking outside the box, like the others will be trying to find like some way to solve something, and he'll just come up with a solution that's just like, oh, why didn't we think of that? Like, when they're all trying to figure out how to like find like these sisters that they need like to do some conjuring, and they're like, how do we contact them? Do we do a seance? Do we do this? And Gunn's like, they're in the yellow pages, found them. And it's just like, just like little things like that. I just think he's so great. J. August Richards brings so much charisma to the role. Again, chemistry with almost everyone. And I just think he's such a great character, and he just deserves so much more love and such better treatment. So that is my number 7, Charles Gunn, forever deserving better from Angel.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Look at him. I mean, so sexy.
I know.
So full of charisma, and he's just great in that show. And I pretty much agree. Like, I think the later seasons are where they drop the ball a little bit. He still has his moments in those seasons, but it'll be an interesting discussion when we get to season 5, because I think I'd probably agree with you that it was a bit of a missed opportunity in that season. And I'm not quite as on board with that side of Gunn, but he does have a nice little arc over the show, and very impressive, and a great way for that actor to like sort of get himself like discovered on that show. He's a great part of that team. So Angel reviews not too far off. We have some more comments. He is a great character. Absolutely. We agree. Russell also says there's a reason he was doing all that in Angel. It was interesting. He sort of brought a different thing to the table, didn't it? Which they didn't already have. And Yeah, I do like his debut actually on the show.
Yes, his debute's fantastic.
That's a good episode. I know there are stereotypical things linked to it, but unfortunately, that is probably a reality for a certain minority in LA.
Yeah,
So I think some of that is true to life as well. But it's a good debut for me. Guns. Was hoping for 7 seasons like Buffy. Well,
yeah, that would have been great.
we could have got at least 6.
Yeah, I think at least one more could have been really great. But I do think Angel, for what it is for the 5 seasons, is a really solid show.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And it's definitely one of the kind of better spin-off shows because like they do have a murky history sometimes, but you can tell it is in the same verse, but also then it complements Buffy, but it's very much its own thing. And
absolutely.
I think that's how you do it with a spin-off show. So Jason has a question. How much is the characters you picked because of great writing or the actresses? I know the answer is easy. The easy answer is both, but anyone so far have one or the other?
One or the other. Oh, well, you go first, Keith, while I contemplate this answer.
I think it probably is 50-50 because like I was saying with John Locke, there's probably no one else I can see in that role now than Terry O'Quinn, and I think they just struck lightning in a bottle. But then again, really good writing of characters is so important on TV. Like, it's probably a little bit more important than character writing in films in a way, but it's sort of like... It's probably 50-50, although I might slightly edge it for writing because I think... Because there's definitely been, like, examples where characters will be more frustrating because of the way they're written than, you know, even if the actor is a little bit one note, I can maybe get around it if they do have like good character arcs and things like that. So I might just favor a little bit in the writing, but it's pretty close for me.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Keith. It's very close for me as well. But I think I would edge it out to the writing because when you have like a character that's got really, really great writing and you can see what the character's supposed to be and you can clearly read their intentions and where they've come from, I think even if you have a slightly lesser actor, that like the writing can then elevate the character. Because if you have like a great actor but a one-note character, the actor can only do so much to elevate the character. But if you've got great writing with an average actor, I think the writing can elevate the character more than the actor can, if that makes sense. So I think I'd go for writing more so. Just that little bit.
No, that's a great question and is a tough one to answer. But
thanks, Russell.
Thank you. Yeah, we're enjoying this. We're enjoying doing the final part.
Melissa, Mrs. Vampire Diaries. Oh, I'm pretty little. Oh, we talk about Dawson's Creek a lot, Melissa, because we're like old school Dawson's Creek, fans. So we do talk about that a lot. I'm a Supernatural fan, at least seasons 1 to 5. Keith has only watched, I think, the pilot, a couple of episodes here and there. And I was a big Pretty Little Lies fan back in the day until it kind of went downhill. But Melissa, are you watching? Let me know if you're watching Original Sin / Summer School, because I've really been enjoying that reboot. So that's fun.
No, right. I was watching a couple of Dawson's Creek the other night.
Nice.
I'm sort of slowly rewatching it. I'm on season 3 at the moment. So I'm just at the Pacey Joey stuff when they get.
Oh, I can't deal with that.
I saw. Okay. And that's the thing we agree on. Like, love triangles 90% of the time don't work. I'm sure there are exceptions, but in general, they really don't work.
Melissa, the Pretty Little Lies reboot is a HBO Max show. So wherever HBO streams where you are, it'll be on that streaming service. But I would highly recommend watching it. It's so good.
And
all 15 seasons of Supernatural. That's commitment. That's commitment, my friend.
It really is. But I saw actually in an episode, because I think it's the one where she catches Pacey and Joey kissing.
Oh yeah.
The actress out of Modern Family, is it Julie Bowler or something?
Yes, that's right. I forget she plays Dawson's aunt, doesn't she? I'd completely forgotten she was in there.
Yeah. So okay, that's one love triangle that works for entertainment. Fair enough.
Fair enough. fair enough. Sometimes they work for people, not for me. But yeah.
I think it's easy for me to look back now and sneer at it, but I'm probably not as harsh on it because when I was watching it, I was the more target age. So at the time, I didn't really think so much about it. But I know it's a hot take, but I do ship Joey and Pacey more than Joey and Dawson. So
no, that's actually pretty popular in the fandom, which I totally get. Oh yeah, because no one likes Dawson because he's such a schmuck. You know. But my unpopular opinion is that I am Pacey and Andy forever.
Yeah.
So I don't
that.
like that he ends up with Joey. I want him to be with Andy.
I don't want to wait for our lives to be over.
Keith had to sing at some point. He likes to show off his singing chops. He's going to go on British Pop Idol soon.
Yes, scary how dark the original version of that song is as well.
I know, because it's all about like some dude going to war and then coming back to find out that like his wife cheated on him or something. It's like, yeah, when you actually listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh no, it's really bad.
My mum is Survivor. Okay.
Oh, Survivor. Oh dear. Anywho, we've gone off on a tangent. Let's get back and go for Keith's number 7.
Yeah, luckily I will be doing an edited version. So my number 7. Okay, he's got that scary sort of bleached hair, doesn't he? In Urban Legend,
yeah.
Which he has in Cruel Intentions as well. So I guess he just had that hair.
Stephen, my husband, at one point had frosted tips. I never let him forget about that.
Tessa, Will, and Jen. Who's Tessa and Will?
No, it looks like it's from a different show. So Infernal Devices.
Okay.
Okay.
I've not heard of that.
Good.
Show.
Like, because that I think is the biggest issue with love triangles is, you end up with all the characters being treated like idiots or like in a disrespectful manner, or it makes you hate some of the characters. So yeah, and I often find like whoever they're fighting over, I'm like, why? Like in Dawson's Creek, I'm like, really, Joey Potter? Why aren't you fighting over Jen or Andy? They're both much better.
Okay. See,
oh dear.
I think when I was younger, at least, Joey was more my type, just because I like the more kind of girl next door bookish type, but it's changed a bit over the years. But anyway, we'll review Dawson's Creek one day, because it does seem like there's a built-in audience for our reviews. So
nice.
We'll get into that. Well, speaking of iconic 90s shows, we're back to another sexy FBI male agent and a crush of mine, a male crush of mine. And it's the role David Duchovny was born to play. It is, of course, Special Agent Fox Mulder of the X-Files.
Well, of course you have a crush. Look at him. Look at him. How could you not?
That guy is so sexy. So sexy. In his prime. Looks so good. Hasn't aged that well, I've got to say, which is a shame.
Poor David.
Has aged less well than Gillian Anderson, who still looks pretty great.
Oh, she still looks fantastic.
Scott, yeah.
Oh, Scott's back. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Scott's back, and
Scott
Becca's
says, "I live again."
So yeah, I think he was a different sort of vibe than Dale Cooper. Like Dale Cooper was a little bit more of the quirky, weird, oddball, whereas I think maybe Duchovny as Fox Mulder is a little bit of an everyday guy. Again, he's got the deadpan wit going on. I'll have to quote some lines in a moment, but he is like an everyday guy. I think the fact that you learn. I think in the first episode, you hear the backstory about how his sister mysteriously disappeared when he was younger, and how that became his motivation for exploring UFOs and the whole thing. And that just gives you a really great emotional hook straight away and gets you into this guy's plight. So it's almost like as soon as you hear that, you're sort of into the drama and into the mystery.
It's a good hook. Definitely.
Yeah, you want to go on that ride with him. Yeah, and Duchovny is so sort of sharp and stylish in the role. Wonderful chemistry with him and Dana Scully, obviously Gillian Anderson. I think it's not overstating it to say then that is one of the most iconic pairings ever. And
And one of the biggest slow burns in history.
Yeah, they really do draw it out. And I think that's what I love, because for so long you do just buy them as friends, and you sort of see that there is sexual tension bubbling under the surface, but they don't really make a big deal of it till the later seasons. It's like they are complete sort of equals. And one thing that gets underrated about Duchovny and Fox Mulder, speaking of the Scully stuff, is then at the start of the show, when it comes to faith, he is a non-believer. He is a cynic when it comes to faith. And she actually comes from the background of believing and faith, which is perfect for the dynamic, because of course he believes in UFOs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she's the skeptic on that stuff. Yeah, Red Dwarf is a lot of fun. But yeah, so I sort of loved that over the course of the show, Fox Mulder does actually at least engage a little bit more of the idea of faith, partly because of his connection with Scully. So that's something which gets really overlooked. And yeah, you go on a great journey with this guy. He is like very grounded and likable, very sharp-witted, very sensitive. Again, I've talked about this before, but they do sort of flip around the gender roles very well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've talked a lot about him, so I won't say much, but I will read sort of some of my favorite Fox Mulder lines. I love in Deep Throat, which is the second episode. He meets Scully in a bar in the middle of the day, like to tell her about this case and stuff. And it is good, Melissa. I agree. And so he offers to buy her a drink, and she says, "It's like 2:00 in the afternoon, Mulder." And he just deadpans, "That doesn't seem to be stopping anyone else in here." So that's a good one. One of my favorites from a season 2 episode is when he says to a guy, "You didn't really think you could call up the devil and expect it to behave, did you?" So that's a great one from one of my favorite episodes. One where he goes to interview a woman and she says, "Do you mind if I have my breakfast?" Because she's in the middle of breakfast. He's like, "Most important meal of the day." And there's one in season 4. It's like this freaky episode where like a guy in like a hospital can regenerate his face. So his face, his face sort of comes off, and he can like just grow a whole new head or something like that. And so Mulder has a couple of choice lines. He says it would make a good paperweight. and then I think it's the same one, but he says something like, "How about we get a slice to go?" Because they're like examining the thing. And I just love that morbid sort of dark sense of humor he has as well. But it is the witty sort of one-liners and the emotional connection you have to the character. I've got to say, and no spoilers whether Scully appears or not, but I've got to say, she's actually more of the badass out of the two as well. I think when you watch them in scenes, a lot of times Mulder is the one who gets knocked down far easier. Because there's a scene one time.
He's the child.
Yeah. There's the scene one time where he gets knocked down and Scully runs up the hall and she stops. And rather than getting up the lazy git, he just points her in that direction, and she has to go out and do it. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, obviously, all sorts of people were in the X-Files, but Lucy Lawless was in it apparently.
I always remember Luke Wilson with his horrible teeth.
Never, but Jamie's a huge fan. Cool. Yeah, because actually I'm doing a slow rewatch with my mum. But the other night, because we're on early season 2, and 3, and there's an early season 3 episode which has both a young Giovanni Ribisi,
yeah,
and also Jack Black in the same episode.
Like, oh my god, that would be awesome! I love Jack Black.
Yeah, who doesn't? But right? he's an actor, isn't it? Giovanni Ribisi.
Oh yeah, Giovanni Ribisi. I actually quite like Giovanni.
But he's quite underrated. He's never quite had the career he should have done, I feel.
No, he's really good in The Gift with Kate Blanchett, that Sam Raimi horror that came out in the early 2000s. He plays a very troubled character in that. He's also really good at playing like the corporate douchebag in Avatar. And he does the voiceover for the Virgin Suicides, and it is one of my favorite voiceovers because it's perfect for that narration. Yeah. Russell saying Jack Black is hilarious. Absolutely. And I think the thing with Jack Black is he has this energy that just feels so natural. You know, like a lot of the other like man-child actors, like you feel like they're putting it on, but with Jack Black, it's just who he is. He's just, he's just a big
so it comes across a bit more authentic.
Absolutely. Yeah. School of Rock, one of my favorite.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely love that one.
We should watch that one time.
That would be good. That would be fun. But no, that's sorry, completely lost my train of thought. That's right. The X-Files. I haven't seen the whole thing. It's one of those shows that I will watch, but I also know that when I do watch it, I'm going to need to like commit to it. And I'm not quite there yet, but my bestie is a huge X-Files fan. Growing up, she loved the X-Files. And so she has shown me several episodes here and there. And the ones that I've seen, really good. Mulder is hilarious. Scully is awesome. Together, they are so good. They've got such great chemistry. And yeah, I totally understand the appeal of both characters.
Okay, great.
I still know what she did last summer. No, that is Jack Black, Melissa. That is Jack Black in I Still Know What She Did Last Summer. So
yeah, that's an amazing cameo, isn't it?
That's a great
what
cameo.
What the hell is he doing in this? And so I think we might be doing those films early next year, just because there's a new one coming out.
Yeah, we'll definitely do those ones. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. Alrighty, we're moving along. So coming in at number 6, I'm visiting a show that you just mentioned a couple of numbers ago that we said we're going to get a plethora of characters from. So this is a character from Lost, my favorite male character from Lost, and that is the wonderful con man, James Sawyer Ford, played by Josh Holloway.
Good choice.
I love Sawyer. You want to talk about character growth? Oh my God. James Ford is one of the best examples. Now, I watched Lost when it was airing. I remember watching the pilot on TV, and I remember hating Sawyer in season 1. Oh my God, I wanted to kill this dude because in season 1, he is a typical kind of racist, redneck, real asshole, kind of always doing the bad stuff. He's looting everyone's suitcases and setting up like a black market on the island. He never wants to be involved in anything. He's always doing some sort of dodgy crap. But the more you get to know Sawyer, the more you get to know his background and his tragic backstory with his parents, the more you get to know what his life has been, the more you realize that this man, no one hates this man more than he hates himself. And I think that's such a tragic side of Sawyer. And a lot of his work on the island is him overcoming that self-loathing and starting to realize that he can actually be a decent member of society. Now, it takes him a while to learn that with a lot of backtracks.
Sure.
And there are some really fun episodes that surround that. Like, I absolutely love the episode in season 3 where Hurley basically cons him into being a nice guy. Hurley basically says that they're going to vote him off the island and that he needs to start being more part of the community. And it turns out that like none of that's true. Like Hurley just wants him to be a decent guy. And at the end, Sawyer's just like, that is the lamest con I've ever seen. And Hurley's like, well, it worked, didn't it? And it's so great to see that the other characters, do not let him get away with shit. Again, I do like a lot of his dynamics. Him and Jin, one of the most underrated bro TPs on TV and one of those unexpected dynamics that Lost just did. We've talked about this before, how Lost just brings you characters that you would think would never, ever work as friends or romantically and just makes them work. And I think Sawyer and Jin have such a great relationship and I really love their friendship. And of course, we have to talk about this, but him and Juliet just amazing because Juliet Burke is just so great. And him and Juliet, it's so funny because their relationship was just kind of done on a whim. The producers knew they were going to do that storyline where they got stuck in Dharmaville and they were like, let's see if Sawyer and Juliet work as a couple. And good God in heaven, did they work as a couple? And they really brought out the best in each other. And it's really funny because earlier you mentioned there's always that whole thing between like Jack and Locke and who's the better leader. You know who's actually the best leader? Sawyer. And it's so insane because you would never expect it. He is, though, but like in season 5, when he and Juliet have to make that live for each other in Dharmaville, he is such a good leader. It's insane. And so just watching him have that growth and watching him become the character that he does is just so amazing. And I love the Flash Sideways. I actually love him in the Flash Sideways. I love that he's a cop. I love that he's like such a different character. And it's just so much fun to see him be like this.
I so want that spin-off with him and the Miles. That would be so good.
Miles being buddy
I would watch that cop.
Absolutely. That was such a fun dynamic. So yeah, James Ford, just the more I watch Lost, the more he just enters my, like, just kind of, creeps up in my heart. I just love him so much. I have talked about this before. I tend to love female characters more than male characters. But if I do love a male character, he's usually a broken, self-loathing man with daddy issues. And James Sawyer Ford suits that to a T. So that's my number 6, James Ford from Lost.
And I do enjoy. There's a new sheriff in town, boys.
Yep.
when he gets the gun, and there's that whole thing. I think that's the one with him and Charlie.
Yeah, that's a bit of a dodgy moment, but it works.
It's a great line anyway.
It is. It really is.
Yes,
entertainment. I agree. The nicknames are fantastic. They're so much fun, and I love this one where Hurley tries to give it back to him, and he's all like, "Whatever, go on, Jumbotron," and he's like, "Whatever, redneck man." It's like, "Ooh," and so he's just like, "Touche."
Yeah, and I do like when Sun turns the tables on him, and it's that thing where he says if you lose to Hurley, you have to go like a month or something without.
Yep. No nicknames, for it was just for like a week, and like you see him even later on after he loses, he goes to call someone, he's just like, Hurley. Yeah, you can tell it's killing him.
And the one that gets a laugh out of me is in one of the flashbacks when he's in the prison and he calls the bald-headed guy Costanza. That's really good.
Yeah. He's so good.
So Jason says,
I've actually never seen Moonlighting. I keep meaning to because I love Bruce Willis, but because that was obviously where he got his start.
Yeah, and his character was on my list earlier.
It was. Yes.
So, I think it's always underestimated how good Willis comic timing was.
Agree, because he is really good
in Moonlighting and a few films as well. But
Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, Death Becomes Her. Die Hard a little bit, but
No. Russell, you're right. Damon from the Vampire Diaries is Boone in Lost, who Keith was ranting about earlier being boring, which is really funny because Damon is such an entertaining character. He's so charismatic as Damon, but no, not as Boone. Absolutely not as Boone.
Okay, so who's your least favorite Lost character? That's a tough one.
Ooh.
It might be someone like Boone. I mean, it's hard to pick.
Mine might actually be Jack, because he just gets so frustrating by the end of it. And again, he got my girl killed. Okay, so
and he does get very self-righteous, doesn't he? Which gets really annoying at times. Yeah. So I can take or leave Jack. I think.
No, I forgot about someone. Who I really, 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 really hate.
Julia.
Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie. Oh my God, do I hate Charlie?
Yeah, but he's not the worst. I wouldn't say he's the worst. And he has a fantastic ending on the show.
He does have a fantastic ending. That's true.
And who can forget that memorable music video in the flashbacks with the nappies?
You all everybody. You all everybody.
And by the way, that episode gets shit on, and people can kiss my ass for that, because that's a great episode. I'm going to defend it to the hill.
Scott's with me. Scott agrees that Jack's annoying. Yeah, he really is. And he gets so, like Keith was saying, he gets so self-righteous by the end of it. I came back to rescue you and I'm here to make things right. And I just love that both Sawyer and Juliet are like, we didn't need you. Yeah. We were doing fine.
Self-righteous characters, especially on TV, well, in real life as well, can be really grating. Suck shaft, very good. Very good. But I do love them. They're pretty much modelled on our aces, so that's pretty funny. Like very similar.
Yeah.
I think this is a cultural thing. Rachel might not, although you've heard of Oasis.
Oh no, trust me, I know of Oasis. Trust me, everyone knows about the Gallaghers. Like, yeah.
But I mean, knowing their style, that is,
yeah.
That's very, okay. Okay, so on to my number 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I've sort of gone from one really iconic character to another, and I'm going to shame Rachel here because it's a character she had much lower, and shame on her, because I've gone with the Slayer herself, Buffy Summers.
Very,
at
very
number
nice.
6.
Yes, Buffy was on my list, but she was a bit lower. There are just so many awesome characters out there. It's so hard.
Way too low. Way too low. We can debate if mine is a bit too high, but Rachel's was definitely way too low. So yeah, I'll keep this short and sweet because we've done a whole review series on Buffy on the channel. We've talked so much, but what I will say is I think even with some of the negative, ugly stuff that's come out in recent years about Whedon, predictable, but sometimes a cliche is all you need, Russell. But even with that stuff, I think it still doesn't diminish the character or her impact or importance. And the mission statement of what Whedon had in mind is still there and is still so brilliant when you watch it in the show, because it does subvert that classic horror trope of the ditzy sort of blonde-haired girl being pursued by the monster or killer, and flips it all the way around. And it just works so brilliantly, and she's the perfect casting all the way along. Even though I think she was probably maybe early 20s when she was cast, so a little bit
21,
older.
I think she was. She was quite
21,
young.
so still look quite young and fresh-faced, but a little bit older than the character by a few years. But again, you don't really question it. She feels like a very natural, angst-ridden teen, a lot of typical teen stuff. She's a great physical performer in the show because that's a really big part of the characters. She does the action scenes very well. She's very good at the quippy one-liners. She does comedy pretty well. Not necessarily the best on the show when it comes to that, but she definitely holds her own, I think, with that stuff.
I agree.
And she just has this really rich, satisfying arc over the course of the show, which probably peaks in season 5. We really love.
We've discussed this. Yeah, that's kind of where the show should have ended, but
well, debatable. I don't necessarily agree it should have ended, but we will pick that stuff back up when we do season 6.
Yes, we will.
I think that's debatable. I don't necessarily agree with that, but anyway, I think maybe for Buffy that's where her arc peaked, and there's a lot of great stuff with her exploring the Slayer roots and the ultimate sacrifice at the end of the season. Obviously, the Dawn character comes in, kind of shakes up Buffy and her character also. Pity. No, it's not a pity because Wolfpack sucked. I mean,
I hadn't checked it out yet, but I just mean it's a pity that she didn't get a longer role to sink her teeth into.
True. It's funny because from what I saw, I think they marketed it on her, but then she seemed to.
They definitely did. They definitely marketed it on her.
Small little bits, but it is nice to see her having a semi sort of career revival, appearing in a few sort of thing. But she's wonderful in Buffy all the way through, because I would argue then her season 6 stuff is quite underrated. I think exploring her coming back from the dead and her being in the hell dimension, and almost like it's like PTSD almost.
She's definitely suffering from that.
And I think that's a really interesting thing for them to explore in that season. She had some great one-liners, some great relationships, like the dynamic with her and Giles, her and Willow. And the thing I'll say to end with is also one choice I like, which gets overlooked, is the choice very much early on in the first episode, where she gets befriended by Cordelia, and it seems like she's going down that path of being in with the it crowd, a bit like she was at her old school. And I like when she makes that choice when Willow approaches her, says, well,
I do too.
Yeah, you can sit here too. I can be friends with both of you. And I think
not legally.
Not legally, apparently. But I think that's what the show is about with the character. It's about this idea that that sort of girl can have both, or at least strive to have both, strive to be everything. And I love that mind view she has where she's like, yeah, Cordelia can be my friend, you can be my friend. And obviously she's a little bit naive to it, but that's kind of the way she sees it. And it's a great statement that from the start she's just willing to be part of the nerdy Scooby squad. So that's something which probably gets overlooked. But yeah, Buffy Summers, everybody.
Nice.
Number 6.
Can't disagree with that. She was obviously also on my list as well. Because just great character. I get that, Russell, not liking Cordelia at first, because she is a bully in season 1 of Buffy. Like, there's no way around that. But she has a lot of growth. And Keith and I have discussed this. Like, we say that a lot of people tend to give Angel, the show, like props for giving her growth. But Keith and I have talked, like, she actually does get a really decent arc in Buffy and gets growth in Buffy that I think gets overlooked. So, yeah, and she's a great foil for Buffy herself.
Definitely,
like Keith was just saying, seeing she's the old popular girl, she's who Buffy used to be. Fantastic foil. But yeah, no, Buffy Summers, absolutely can't argue with that at all. She's fantastic. Well, I'm going to drag you right back because my next one you also had on your list, and again, way too low. Like, I don't know why, but this is another one of my sad wet sacks of a man who has major parent issues, and that is the wonderful, stupid, frustrating Donald Draper from Mad Men. Absolutely love this pathetic man, and I kind of love him. Yay! Oh my God, Keith, you're doing so good. Look at you go. Love the picture you've chosen too. It's fantastic.
Classic picture.
Like, what?
What do you want
this
from
man?
Him?
Oh my God, this man. I love him, but oh my God, does he frustrate the hell out of me? And I think that's such a mark of such a well-written character. Don Draper is one of those characters that every awful thing he does, you can trace why he's doing it. Like, his background, his whole upbringing, and everything there, it's so insanely intense and tragic that when you see him in the present day, or rather in the 60s, and you just see him self-sabotaging and self-destructing and taking everyone down with him, you get why. You understand why this man has so much shame, so many insecurities. I mean, he looks like he has everything together, but as my sister says, he's such a loser. Like, he is honestly such a loser. He cannot keep his relationships together. He does not know how to treat his wives. He's constantly cheating on everyone left, right, and center. Like you said, his best relationship is with Peggy, and even that relationship is fraught with drama.
Scott.
See, Scott, it was great for you to stop by. Stop by? Great for you to stop by.
Yeah, that's going to be a new expression. Stop by. Very good.
But yeah, I won't say too much because you really covered it, and I could be here till tomorrow if I started talking about how much I love Don Draper. But John Hamm was perfect casting. I know there were a couple of other choices like Patrick Jane and another guy, the Mariska Hargitay's husband. I'm like, yeah, it could have worked, but I just think that John Hamm was perfect casting. He brings such a nuance to this character and makes you feel for him. Even when you hate him, you love him. And it's just so easy to just see his motivations and figure out why he is the way he is. And John just that vulnerability that he brings and that emotional side to Don that he really brings through. And he also plays the other side of Don so well. Like, he is such an arsehole. Is that the same guy from Shazam? I don't think so.
I don't think
Ham was in Shazam. I think you might be thinking of Zachary
Quinto?
Levi, I think his name is.
Levi,
no, Quinto is Spock.
I know, it's confusing.
Yeah, it is.
The jeans guy, basically.
Yes. But no, Don Draper, like I said, he is just absolutely my type of male character. Pathetic, daddy issues, self-loathing, but I absolutely love him. So yeah, one of my favorite male characters ever. That is number 5, Donald Draper from Mad Men.
Yeah, excellent choice, and a show we both really love, and a show we will probably do one day.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some great discussions about Mad Men
Absolutely.
on in the future. So my number 5, I'm going back to the West Wing at least once more time on the list. I'm kicking off the top 5, this time with a female character from the show. So you know who it is. It's
CJ.
Alison
I
Janney.
knew it.
Yeah,
I said it
CJ.
before it popped up.
The press officer for most of the show, and I mean Alison Janney. She's one of those actors, isn't she? She's not bad in anything,
No,
even
no,
if
she's
it's a weak
amazing in everything.
film or role, whatever. She
Mm-hmm.
always brings something, and like so underrated. Such a scene stealer in many things. Drop Dead Gorgeous being a good example. She
Mm-hmm.
is so good in that. But
Yep.
yeah, like so many of the cast of The West Wing, they got their best roles on there, their most defining roles. Again, she has a different sort of challenge, having once again to like be like strong, independent, navigate what you think of maybe a traditional masculine role or work environment at least. And I think because it's such a screwball show, I think she is cut from that cloth, that kind of tradition of like almost the Catherine Hepburn style leading lady.
Yes, I can see that. Yes.
Yeah, very independent, very sharp, very sort of witty and ambitious. But I do really love like the scenes of her giving the daily press conferences. They are a staple of the show. And it really shows her people skills because she is so charming and funny in those press conferences. And what it shows is then I think as like the press officer, you have to be both. You have to have a way to get the press on your side and be quite charming and almost befriend them, because when they go on trips, like on the airplane, the press will be on the aeroplane and
Yes, of
stuff. So
course.
CJ will find ways to kind of entertain them and kind of give them little bits of information without giving too much away. So it's sort of that balancing act where she has to kind of like, it's in the best interest to maybe have like the press on your side, but you don't want to get too close to them. You don't want to let crucial things slip through. And so I really love that relationship with the press she has. You obviously at one point you get the character of Danny, who's introduced quite early on, who's a journalist who they have like an attraction, so that kind of complicates things, compromises things, the fact he's a journalist. But he's a wonderful little character and they have great chemistry. And again, West Wing does Will They Won't They so well. So that's such a great will they won't they type thing. And the way they resolve it at the end of the show I really like as well. I love the relationship with Toby. I think they are like, Toby is probably like the I've heard good things about Mum, and I would check that out since she's in it and stuff, definitely. But I think her and Toby, I think Toby is her closest friend in the West Wing. You really get that vibe. They have a lot of history that goes back. And again, there's never a hint of romance between them. It's just, and it's refreshing to see on TV because a lot of TV shows would go to that well. But no, there's never any hint. They just have this respect for each other. They're on the level. They can talk about things in their personal lives. One of my personal favorite episodes from season 4, which I think divides people, but there's a storyline where her dad has dementia, and that's like that like piles on the pressure in her already high pressured like life and career. So there's an episode from series 4 called the Long Goodbye, and it's when she goes back home to visit the father, and also she's given a speech at her old high school. So it's kind of one of those episodes where it's this weird situation where she's going back home after all these years, and she runs into like an old high school boyfriend who's played by Curly Els, who we've seen
Yeah.
he's in the episode. So that's a nice cameo from him. And yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes because I think to have an episode mostly dedicated to her, and I think just the way they handle that whole storyline, and obviously such a Yeah, such a sad thing, dementia, and I think
Yes.
what the storyline shows is that it's obviously even harder on the people who are
Around you.
around you, the
Yeah.
family members, and she does some great powerful acting in that. There's a great scene where they're like out fishing together, and the dad just at one point loses sense of who he is and
it's sad.
just gets really upset. So it's a really
Yeah.
powerful scene, and she does some great acting, and yeah, really satisfying character throughout the show. Great arc, and Alison Janney is just sort of next level and really fun to see. As I said, I think you do explore her roots a bit. There's like a season 2 episode where I think they're in the run up to the election, so they do kind of show you how Bartlett got the team together originally. Where
I think I've actually seen that episode. I think that's one of the episodes that my bestie has shown me. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, it's really good because like it turns out CJ was like in Hollywood, like writing scripts or something, and you've got Great Sabransky as a boss as well. But that's a really funny episode, and it's a nice sort of flashback, and you can see how you can imagine CJ doing that stuff before. So yeah, amazing, great character and great female character for the time as well. So CJ Craig is my number 5.
Nice. Alison Janney, always good. The first thing though that I ever saw her in was 10 Things I Hate About You, when she's playing the dirty school counselor and she's writing her erotic novel. Do you remember that?
Which thing? 10? Oh yeah, I do enjoy
10
that.
things,
I mean, obviously,
and
I
she's
watched
always
it recently.
Judith, what's another word for engorged? Swollen, turgent, tumescent, perfect. But she's great. Alison Janney, always good. I've never seen her give a bad performance. She's in everything she is. And yes, I agree on young Sheldon. His twin Missy is hilarious.
That's the spin-off, isn't it?
Yeah, I tried to watch it because I don't love The Big Bang Theory. The characters
I've only
piss me
seen a
off too
couple
much.
of episodes. I don't think it's my thing.
Sheldon in particular really pisses me off, but I tried young Sheldon because I was like, maybe he'll be more bearable as a child, and he definitely is more bearable as a 9-year-old. So yes. All right, my God, we're almost there. Look at that. 2.5 hours and we're getting there. All righty. So coming in at number 4 is my absolute favorite male character of all time. And he is a big, broody hunk of a manpire, and that is the title character from Angel himself.
Where the hell
with his fantastic forehead. I'm guessing you've got a picture there, Keith, because you guessed this one.
I'll be with you in a minute. Yeah, I mean, I know Rachel. I know your taste.
Yeah, Keith knows me.
Look,
I love Angel. Yes, I love him on his own show, but I also really love him on Buffy. And I do think he is a little bit underrated on Buffy because he's obviously just supposed to be Buffy's love interest. So he doesn't get that much development. But of course, the Angelus period on Buffy, so good. Really showed what David can do, his acting chops. And there's my broody man with his terrible hair. That is the most 90s hair I've ever seen. But no, this guy is fantastic. And of course, on his own show, he gets so much more development. Like I said, I love a self-loathing man, and Angel's one of the best. I love his eternal quest for redemption. That, particular storyline is so good. The way he struggles with the darkness in him, with the Angelus side of him, all the time. I think on Angel, we get the opportunity to build some really great dynamics. I love him and Cordy as friends, not as a romantic pairing, because they are terrible as a romantic pairing, but as friends, they are fantastic, because I love the way her bubbliness and her outgoingness kind of contrasts his broodiness, and the way he's always trying, kind of sulking. Doyle was a great dynamic, which sadly we obviously did not get that much of because of the behind the scenes issues, but I really loved him and Doyle. Watching him and Wes get close, just all of the dynamics on Angel. And I think that Angel gave him some really good exploration, but I mean, unfortunately, Angel as a series, and I think we'll discuss this when we get there, I find that a lot of his seasons start really strong and then kind of peter out. So I do think that some of his storylines tend to peter out. Like, for example, the Dark Angel storyline in season 2 never fully got resolved, but I love seeing him as a dad. Oh my God, him and Connor. I could talk about him and Connor for hours, just that dynamic. And everything that it entails. And I really like the decision to go to Wolfram and Hart in season 5. I think it brings out a really interesting side to Angel and puts the fight in a different place. You know, he's suddenly on a different playing field, and he's never been on this playing field before. And I think it's really interesting to watch him navigate that. And if we'd had a season 6, I think that could have been really interesting to see as well. I also think Angel's really funny. I think people underestimate how funny Angel can be. He's got a really deadpan sense of humor, and it really comes out fantastically. There's this fantastic goofy side to him that I really love when that comes out. And I just think that he gets overlooked a little bit, which I totally get sometimes, because the Whedonverse is full of really rich characters. You know, there are so many great characters out there, but I do think that Angel deserves a bit more praise than he gets, and that that people should like maybe look at his character a little bit more and see that there is more there than just being the broody vampire who's in love with Buffy. But yeah, Angel is just he's so fantastic, and I just love him more and more the more I watch the show, and I think he'll be my favorite male character pretty much forever unless someone better comes along, which I really don't see that happening. So that's my number 4, wonderful Angel / Angelus from Buffy and Angel.
Okay, so your favorite male character, so that definitely implies then from now on it's all females, which means because I had to predict things in the thumbnail, so that definitely
yes, I saw one of your predictions for somewhere. I'm like, no, but
not quite, but
not quite.
A swing and a miss. I think he would have been on the next list down, maybe. Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, it's a good pick. I mean, I know I've said before I'm more of a Spike fan, and I've had my little digs at Angel, but you know, he does grow over time. He's not so much of a male model, wooden male model over time, and he really grows into that character. And yeah, no, I mean, really, it's a game changer, the whole Angelus thing in season 2. It's a great game changer for the Buffyverse in general when you introduce the other show, and it opens up all these fresh possibilities with Angel. And
absolutely.
And there's always this debate, like, was he right to lead his own show? Can he lead his own show? And I agree with you. I think he does lead his own show very well. And I agree. Like, you wouldn't have thought because of the character he would naturally do comedy that well, but he actually does do comedy really well.
Yep.
And I love when he always like does impressions of people and takes on like him playing the wise guy sort of
yeah. AJ. Yeah, when in the Shroud of Ramon, when he's got the sunnies and he's trying to be Herb Sanders, Baltimore. Yeah, so good.
And when he puts on like the sort of colorful Hawaiian shirts and things like that, that's always fun. So you can tell he's enjoying that stuff.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, Angel's a great choice. And
nice.
He may still make my list. Who knows?
Russell's saying he loves Puppet Angel. Everyone loves Puppet Angel.
So good.
It's
a fun episode. Yeah.
You're a bloody puppet, Spike. Must be some type of puppet cancer. I do not have puppet cancer.
Okay. Well, I know Rachel's not such a fan because I had Blackadder, the character, earlier on the list, and I think, I don't know about Mr. Bean. I mean, I guess he works okay in half-an-hour segments. I'm not sure he needed his own film, but I don't know if it's my sort of humor, but fair enough. Okay.
I do love the episode where he accidentally headbutts the Queen. That is funny.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Good.
Accidentally. Yeah. Sure.
Accidentally.
Crow marks. Okay, so I think we're on to my number 4, aren't we? So my number 4 comes from a more modern show and is the lead character from that show, or at least one of the leads, and that is Walter White from Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, played by Bryan Cranston, who, it's funny, isn't it? Because he made his name more in comedy, because he
Malcolm in the Middle is what I always think.
And he had a few appearances in Seinfeld. So, I mean, he's comedy, but then he turns it all around to great effect in this unexpected role. And again, I'll repeat how it was pitched to the studio. It was pitched as Mr. Chips Goes to Hell, and that's kind of the way they set up the character and his journey. And obviously Breaking Bad is one of the cornerstones of modern TV, this sort of golden era that we've been going through, and like everything being just so rich and like well thought out and laid out, you know, TV becoming more like a novel in a way, like visual type novels, and really more cinematic and character type arcs. And Breaking Bad is obviously right up there, one of the cornerstones, and it just wouldn't work the same without Bryan Cranston's amazing performance. He is one of the most scary, one of the most complex anti-heroes ever on TV. As I said, I mean, he does sort of go from, because the whole thing is that he's got cancer at the start of the show, and it's sort of this thing where, you know, at some point he is going to die, but it's this thing of, that's the reason he's doing the whole drug thing, is to like try and, you know, leave money behind for his family. And he is this sort of very like middle of the road sort of like guy who is also just very like underwhelmed and very sort of modest family guy. And it's just this thing of like, he goes from that to becoming this total egomaniac and monster, and this, you know, he's got his fingers in so many pies, and everything's so dark and murky, so sinister the way he plays him. And again, it's a very minimalistic performance from him, where he does so much without seemingly changing his facial expressions that much. But it's a really bold, unflinching performance from Cranston. He has great chemistry with Aaron Paul as Jesse, and they make for a great pairing. And I've only seen it once, like all the way through, actually, so it's one I need to do a rewatch of. But he is so impressive in it, and such a rich, layered character. And it's fun to see it sort of come back around a little bit nearer the end, where he does then have a little bit of a redemption at the end, having gone sort of so dark and so sort of like corrupt and sinister. And I'll say, because I've mentioned obviously the spin-off, the
Better Call Saul.
Yeah, which I like even more. And obviously Bob Odenkirk, who debuts in season 2 of Breaking Bad, he's another one who came from comedy and is such an underrated like character actor. And I think personally that show is a little bit better, but it's very close between the two. And yeah, Bryan Cranston, in many ways, as great as Breaking Bad is as a show, he really makes it tick. So that's my number 4.
Very nice. Well, I haven't seen Breaking Bad yet. I don't know. I know that it's a fantastic show. It was just, I don't know, it never really piqued my interest. I'm not sure what it was about the show. But I know that it is counted as one of those shows that ushered in kind of like the golden age of television, and that, a lot of people see it as like a turning point. And I mean, I hear pretty much nothing but good things about it and about Cranston's performance. So, yeah. Definitely understand.
I do love them, as we're talking about this prestigious TV show. Russell mentions Knight Rider and Dukes of Hazzard.
We got to have some balance. We got to have
variety.
Some balance.
I mean, I do love Knight Rider. That's a guilty pleasure. And the Hoff also has an appearance in The West Wing, playing himself. So.
Jason's telling me I'm missing out. All right. Well, may have to then check it out at some point.
What, on Knight Rider? Or...
No, I'm guessing on Breaking Bad, like saying that it didn't really pique my interest. So okay, cool. I'll have to keep that in mind. All right. So before I get into the next ones, I just want to say that these next 3 characters could literally, any of them could be number 1 for me. And the way that I've managed to order them is I've ordered them. I was like, okay, how am I going to order these 3 when I literally love them in equal measure? So I've ordered them in terms of how long I have loved them. So this is, from the one that I've watched this show the least to the one I've watched the show the most. And yes, but just know that these next 3 pretty much just all number 1 in my heart.
So top 3, and I'm gonna go 3 for 3. I think I might have the top 3.
Okie dokie.
We'll see if I'm right. Go on.
So coming in at number 3 is another character from Lost, my absolute favorite character from Lost.
Okay.
The beautiful, angelic, never did anything wrong in her life, Juliet Burke.
Hell yeah.
There she is. Look at her. She's just, oh. This was one of those characters where as soon as she walked on the screen, I was like, oh, okay, you. I'm going to love you the most. I don't know what it was. I just knew. And I wasn't wrong. One thing I loved about Juliet is when she first arrives, she is so ambiguous. You literally do not know which way this woman's going to turn. Is she a good guy? Is she one of the others? Is she on the side of Jack? Is she on the side of Ben? She goes back and forth so much, and they play with it so much. It is so much fun. And while they're playing with this, we get this glimpse of this totally badass and like awesome woman who's got so much trauma that she is trying to recover from. I mean, her dynamic with Ben is so insidious, you know, the way that, you know, he gets her onto the island and then keeps her there. I really love when she does start to integrate herself with the island, with the Losties, and how she does slowly kind of earn their trust, but it takes a long time. One of my favorite scenes of hers in her early appearances is when Sawyer and Saeed are trying to like catch her out, and she's all like, oh, really? Let's talk about you two. And she basically rattles off this list of like crap that they've both done. And then she's like, so why don't we skip the part where you two pretend to be righteous? And I'm just like, yes, you know, like this girl, she knows how to stand her ground. And then obviously from season 4 and 5, she gets so much growth in those two. But like I said in my Sawyer segment, her and Sawyer together, such a great pairing, so much growth there. The way they just bring out the best in each other, the way they are co-leaders, they actually rely on each other. Like I was talking to Stephen a while ago, and I was like, if you compare Sawyer and Juliet to like Kate and Jack, like every time in the early seasons when Jack's going to go do something, he tries to leave Kate behind, and she'll try to be like, oh, you need me, and he'll be like, you need to stay here, and he's always trying to like put her down and say, I'm the leader. Whereas with Sawyer and Juliet, from moment one, it was, do you have my back? And that was it. That was their dynamic. They worked together. This is one. Okay, guys, if you haven't watched Lost, I'm really sorry, but I have to speak about this because it's such a big part of her character. But this is a character death I will never get over, and I will never forgive. I'm like that. He never forgave and he never forgot. I will never forgive the Lost Riders for killing off this beautiful woman, especially since the point at which she was killed off, it was obviously done for shock factor, and she had earned the right at that point to see the series through. And I'm pretty sure the creators themselves have said that they regret killing her off, and so they bloody well should. Because she deserved so much better. I do, however, love that we do get her in the finale in the Flash Sideways, and that she and Sawyer find each other. But yeah, no forgiveness for this one at all. She is like one of the loves of my life, and I will love her forever. So okay. Juliet Burke, my shining light. That's number 3.
Well, I mean, I have my male crushes, as we've established.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, she's a great character and great actress. Remind me who plays her again?
Elizabeth Mitchell.
Yeah, she's excellent. Yeah, it has a great backstory off the island as well, and reason for being there. And yeah, she's pretty badass, which you don't see coming when she first is on the show. Yeah. And I do love her and Sawyer as well.
I know. Oh my God.
Great addition. and we probably get some of her best stuff in the the Dharma stuff.
In the Dharma scenes, absolutely. Yeah, no, they're great.
Jason is still on the
Oh dear. Sure, he could have been hanging out with John Locke. That would have been great.
Well, everyone else was in the show, to be fair. So I mean,
that's true. So you might as well throw Mr. Bean in there.
Throw him in, yeah. I've seen weirder cameos. So, yeah.
True.
No, that's a great choice. That's a great choice. Sawyer and Juliet are probably in my top. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. They're my number 2 ship. No one beats Buffy and Angel.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
All right.
So I think I'm on a run actually of female characters as well.
Nice.
Because my number 3, I'm just deciding, yeah, I'll go with that picture. The softer side of Sears herself.
Look at that face.
Willow Rosenberg, who I think might be my favourite Buffy first character. Alison Hannigan, again, I think she was already in her mid-20s when she was cast, or
yes,
something.
she was.
So it's kind of insane that, again, you just buy her you don't question it from moment go. And I think she is one of the quickest of the cast to really bed in and nail down that role. And we talked about in our season 1 reviews how natural, how nervous she is in those scenes with Buffy at the Bronze, and how you just buy her as this very timid, inexperienced, everyday girl, very book smart, very nerdy. Yeah, just a really likable best friend. You know, they have one of the best kind of best friends partnerships on TV. Add Xander into that mix and the past with him and Willow, you've got a great little trio there, the start of the Scoobies. And she's so good. I mean, Alison Hannigan, as she's proven since in How I Met Your Mother, is so good at comic timing.
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of the best out there. Has some great lines. And again, and I mean, I know it's very 90s. I know it's easy to laugh at some of the fashion on her. But again, she has really distinct, you know, standout fashion. And some of them hit more than others. But some of it is a guilty pleasure, like that scary purple hat she wears at one point. But it's kind of cute. I also back her choices for Halloween costumes because
absolutely.
I love the Eskimo. I think it's much better than Cordelia's outfit. Sorry, Cordy, but I love that Eskimo outfit from Willow. But she also has one of the best arcs in the Buffyverse, where you see where she goes from. You know, as I said, by the time you get to season 4, she is more confident than Buffy, really, and more like seasoned almost as this like college girl who's
waiting
really
for her nerdy knowledge.
who's sort of embracing that life a bit more than Buffy at the start. And I do like that flip around from that season 1 episode where she's
too.
Yeah, she's given the advice to Buffy on dating and things like that. And we've said it as well. Probably the highlight of that terrible Beer Bad episode is the scene where she turns the table on Parker so smartly. She leaves him down the garden path and then flips it.
Yeah.
It's a great scene.
Chucks him in the bin.
Yeah. And she does have gems like that, a bit like the scene in the pack with Xander.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
When she calls his bluff and like finds out. That's so good.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, at the same time, this great arc, so they go down the magic route. And I mean, not everything with that arc works, but a lot of it does. And it's an interesting side to Willow. And she goes from being the sort of computer book nerd to being into magic to quite a scary degree at some point. But it definitely adds to her character. And personally, I know season 6 is far from perfect, but I do love those last 3 episodes. I do love her as Dark Willow. I love how she becomes, in a way, the big bad for the end of the season. And I kind of love that as a because back in Doppelgangland, obviously it's brought up that she's getting a bit fed up of being like taken for granted and the sidekick role, so you can sort of see her all these years later actually getting to be a full-on big bad. So that's a lot of fun. She also has a lot of fun as the fun, campy, like vampire Willow in The Wish and Doppelgangland. And I think whenever you have a Willow-centric episode, by and large, I think they are some of the best episodes of the show. You know, those two are. I mean, really, the Wish is more Cordelia, but Willow has a big part in it as well. But Doppelgangland definitely. Choices is quite a little gem for Willow as a character.
Yes.
There you go. Some Willow love from Becca, and we all know what.
And from Russell.
From Russell, Dark Willow was interesting in season 6. I agree.
Yeah.
We all know what a masterpiece iRobot Eugene is, Rachel. So
he just had to get it in. He just had to get it in. Couldn't let it go. No.
We know that's the greatest Willow-centric episode of the lot. No doubt about it.
Oh no.
But yeah, to end things on Willow, I'll just say, and we've said this, yes, she gets her props for the comedy and being this quirky, lovable character, but she doesn't get enough credit for her dramatic skills. And like other cast members, Tony Head, Sarah Michelle Gellar, other people do get the props for that, but she really doesn't. And she's much better at that stuff than... I think about the small little scene in Prophecy Girl, you know, like that whole thing with Buffy in the bedroom.
Yeah, they came into our world and they made it theirs. It's a great.
Yeah.
And she's fun. The great scene.
Yeah, chilling scene. And she's brilliant in it. But then later on, the stuff with Oz in season 4 with the breakdown.
Oh my God. Allison crying.
She's a great crier, isn't she?
Breaks my freaking heart every time. The eyes get huge and she looks like 10 years younger and you just want to give her a hug. So good.
So yeah, I think because of all those things, she is my favorite Buffyverse character. I also like her little appearance in Angel in a couple of episodes. Yeah. Because she's actually in my favorite episode of Angel, I would say.
Orpheus?
Yeah, which is season 4 episode.
Nice.
Which is funny because I'm not that high on that season, but that's a really great episode.
Yeah, season 4, we're going to have a lot to talk about when we get there.
But yeah, no, she's wonderful. Obviously, there are some down points later on, but one of the best arcs of the Buffyverse, without doubt. And it's just, I mean, when I hear people who... Because I have heard people who find Willow annoying, and that just bums me out, because I don't know how you can have that. It's like you can't have a pulse really if you find Willow. She is so adorable. But Willow Rosenberg is my number 3.
Good choice. I do like Willow. I just have some issues with the writing of her character in some later seasons. I just feel that there are some things that don't get addressed and that kind of get brushed under the rug. And I don't think they do the best job of like redeeming her after season 6, but I think that's more an issue with the writing of the season than it is with the character herself. Like if they'd done better writing, then she could have had a better arc, but you know, season 7 gets a bit lost with the potentials and everything. So I just think that in the last 2 seasons, there's just some writing choices that for me bring down the character a bit.
Well, we'll get to that stuff.
Yeah.
So I won't say any more.
I remember Monk. I never really got into it, but the character did look interesting.
Yeah, and he's another character actor, that Tony Shalhoub. He again does deadpan quite well. Very well. He's appeared in a lot of Coen Brothers movies. He's another one who's in an episode of The X-Files, actually. In season 2. So, yeah. Please, thank you. Cool.
Alrighty.
So we're almost
there. We're almost there. All right. So my number 2, and once I say this, I think you'll know exactly who it is probably the most unfairly hated female character I have ever seen in any fandom. She is so hated. I did a whole video about why you should not hate her. And that is the wonderful, amazing Lana Lang from Smallville.
Somebody save me. That's the only response I can.
Keith just had to he had to sing a little bit. So we had to have singing Keith.
Yeah, the stream is over, guys. This is ridiculous.
This girl does not deserve the hatred she gets. Oh my God, the way the Smallville fandom would go off on this girl. You would think that she was like the biggest villain off the show. You know, never mind Lex Luthor. Lana Lang is the real villain in Superman's life. Oh my God. Look, another Asian character, so of course I've already got that. But like Lana Lang,
I didn't even know that until you pointed out. She does look white to me. I've got to.
No. Kristen Krug is Dutch Chinese and definitely, obviously so. Although they try to whitewash her in the show, which really pisses me off. Oh yeah, she is in Beauty and the Beast, Russell. I need to check that one out.
I don't know. Maybe you're making this Asian thing up.
No, she's definitely Asian. Do not. Yeah, she's Asian. Kristen Kruk is Asian. But Lana Lang, to me, I loved her. From season 1, I absolutely loved her. I think that she gets a really good character arc, at least in the first 3 seasons. She starts off as the very typical girl next door to Clark. He's been idolizing her for like God knows how long. But in season 1, he decides, oh, maybe I should actually get to know her instead of just creepily staring at her from my telescope across the, across the farmyard, which, come on, Clark, be better. But I think so. She starts off as that typical girl next door, and then you find out that she's kind of curated this whole persona for herself, which is based off what she believes her dead parents want for her. So she's the perfect straight A student. She dates the homecoming king, which is kind of questionable given that she's 15 and he's 18, but we can talk about that later. She wins, homecoming crown. She wins, she's a...
That's a nitpick, Rachel. As long as they don't have sex, there's nothing wrong with it.
True. Well, maybe. But any hoozle. But she has this great arc in season 1 of like breaking out of this girl next door mold and learning to be herself and learning what she wants to do. And then in season 2, she does get a slightly unrealistic storyline where she ends up running her own business. But this is Smallville, where people can see through walls and kryptonites everywhere. So I think we can ignore that. But even that, that gives her a sense of independence. She has this running theme of people leaving her, and that becomes like a really big sticking point with Lana. Oh no, Jason, I'm coming for you. Jason's saying Rachel's gonna get the knitting needles out for me. She was horrible. No, she was not.
Good man, Jason.
Baby girl, and I love her so much, and she does not deserve the hate that she gets. Oh my god.
And Jason has become my favorite subscriber. Just
look at Jason sucking up. There, see, entertainment lover gets it. Lana Lang is a great character. Love her arc learning to depend on herself and becoming a stronger character. And I believe she gets blamed too much for the on again, off again dynamic with Clark. Absolutely 100% agree. Because look, I will admit, the Klarna relationship, Clark and Lana, as much as I do love it, because Tom Welling and Kristen Kruk have chemistry that is just insane. But you suck. You suck so bad. But the relationship definitely gets dragged out way too long. Like, it really should have been over at the end of season 3, and then Lana should have stayed on as like the friendly ex, because I think that would have worked better for both characters. Okay. But the thing is, it's not her fault. If you want to blame anyone, blame the writers. But everyone wants to blame Lana, and that is actually where a lot of the hatred of her comes from.
That comment makes no sense, because of course it's on the writers, because it's a fictional show. They write the character.
But people don't blame the writers.
But what I'm saying is, you can't make that argument, because it's always the writers if a character is written badly. So it's a pointless remark.
I don't think she's written badly. I think her and Clark relationship is written badly. And for some reason, everyone seems to think, oh, it's Lana's fault. It's Lana's fault that this relationship is so bad. But it's not her fault. It's like, that's not a reason to hate her character. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is not a valid reason to hate her character. If you dislike her character because of actions in the narrative or because of this or that, fine. Yeah, but hating her because Clark and her are always on and off again, that to me, that doesn't make any sense. That's just being petty.
So what you're saying is it's a case of the narrative being badly written rather than the character.
Yes. Because I actually think Lana has such great, I think her character is so great.
Just
and in
the latest Spice, Russell. She knows.
And in the latest season, she gets this great arc where she goes a bit dark for a while, and we get to see a different side of her, a more ruthless side of her. And Jason, for you, Lana Lang has been on my list since I was about 17 years old. She's not going anywhere. I did a whole 25-minute video about how much I love her. Anyway, this is getting way too spicy, so I'm just going to wrap up by saying everyone who hates Lana Lang sucks, including all of you in the chat. I love you, but you'll suck, so to speak. And Lana Lang is number 2. Number 2 on my all-time favorite TV characters. Oh,
yeah.
What, my picture?
I'm speechless. That's disgusting. I mean,
But you obviously expected it. I mean, you had the picture
I
ready
didn't
and
expect
waiting.
it that high. I knew she
You
would
not
be
watched
in
my
there.
10 favorite characters vid? Damn, Keith.
Maybe I haven't. Maybe I just clicked on it. But yeah, no, ridiculous. I mean, it's at least 51 places too high. I'll say. Great joke. Well, I'm still quite early into Smallville. I mean, we all know my feelings a little bit. It's a show of its time. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. I think that's the only way you can enjoy it because it gets so dumb and cheesy. And despite what Rachel claims, the characters are not well written. That's just it's fantasy from Rachel. And
where are my knitting needles?
And it's it's such a bad, like early 2000s dated will they won't they type trope between those two.
Oh,
They
that
don't
I agree with.
they
That
don't
I
have
will.
chemistry,
Yeah,
and
they do. Shut
this
up,
whole
Keith.
hiding things from each other without saying their real
Oh, yeah,
feelings.
but that's very 2000s, isn't it? And that's very superhero as well. I mean, you see that with
Yeah,
Flash and Arrow and yeah.
there's a lot of bad stuff with Lana for me. There's the stupid scene where she rides the horse to the graveyard. I mean, what is that all about?
Look, she rides horses.
That's a
Christian
cheesy.
Krug does actually ride horses, so you see but that would only be cheesy if you
Doesn't
never saw her
excuse
riding a
it.
horse again. But you see her riding horses all the time, so it's clearly how she gets around.
Yeah,
She
but
lives on a farm.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure her house is within walking distance of the graveyard.
No, it's not within walking distance.
Okay. Look, I'm going to agree with you. We've talked about toxic fandom. We've talked about how, again, people need to grow up a little sometimes and not take these things like their life and death. And again, it can be really shitty for the actors involved, the actors and actresses involved. And so I do have sympathy, but on the other hand, putting her number 2 just because you feel sorry for her, that's
it's not because I feel sorry for her. I genuinely
sausage.
love Lana Lang, okay? She is that high because I love her and I think she's a great character. She just happens to be so unfairly hated.
It's gone downhill.
Hopefully, Jason, I can win you back with my number 1. And I'm pretty sure Keith knows who my number 1 is. So I think he'll approve, but we'll see how we go. Let's hear who Keith's number 2 is first.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Christian Cook. She's not the worst of that era of actresses, but she's little bit one note. Okay, Lana.
This is the last time you'll see me on Keith's channel.
I don't hate her. That's the best compliment I can give. I don't hate her. I think Mr. Bean is better than Smallville.
Oh my God! Shut up.
Okay, where am I? Number 2.
Number 2.
Okay, my number. Well, I'm sticking with the redheads for my number 2, so you might be able to guess. It's back to the X-Files. It's the other half of the classic partnership. It's Scully. Scully over Mulder. I think that is the right order. And I think it sort of says that really the Scully-centric episodes actually tend to be a bit better than the Mulder-centric episodes. But yes, some Scully love because she is probably the most important female in a sci-fi show, maybe of all times. And it was such a coming out role for Gillian Anderson. And yeah, it's amazing. She was modeled on the Cully Starlin character. That was a big
influence. You know what? I can see that definitely.
That.
Yes.
And they play homage to that in the pilot. Like the first scene with her is her walking down the hallway in a scene which mimics, the Lambs. And X-Files does that sort of thing so well a lot of times. But yeah, I think again it's really impressive. Like Gillian Anderson was very, very young at the time. She was sort of early 20s because David Duchovny is the slightly older of the two.
Yeah.
But again, she convinces you that she's actually a few years ahead of that. She convinces you that she's probably more later 20s and really mature. But she is sort of very fresh-faced. She plays it so well. Instantly, she has great chemistry with Mulder. As I said, I love their dynamic, how they flip the gender roles again around. Scully gets to be a badass. She gets to be vulnerable. Gillian Anderson gets to show the whole range. I know they play it out a little bit that she's a non-believer, and there's certain contrivances where you're like, really, Scully? All you need to do is turn around and you'll be a believer. But that's partly...
She says, no, I will face forward.
yeah, I'm not going to kill the show. So but it's one of these things. It's case of the week a lot of times, so it's of that era. But like, just having that as the core dispute between the two. And as I said before, I love the fact that Scully has this great moral compass where, yes, she's very set in her ways when it comes to science. She doesn't believe in like the supernatural or UFOs at the start. She becomes more open-minded later on, but I love that she always puts it in the right place where she wants to solve the case first and foremost. So she will be open-minded because of that. Weirdly enough, the studio wanted, it's either Pamela Anderson or a Pamela Anderson-like actress to be in the role. And it's just because of the success of Baywatch. And it's sort of ironic because Gillian Anderson did become a sex symbol later on, you know, a lot of magazine covers, but it's funny that they wanted that, and that would have been
awful.
The opposite. It sort of proves that you really shouldn't listen to studio heads. You know, that's
never.
That's a terrible idea. Leave the creative to the creative people, basically. But yeah, no, she really changed the game for female in sci-fi TV, and you know, a standout episode is Beyond the Sea from series 1, which is the Brad Dwarf starring episode. He has a great cameo.
Nice.
Yeah, he's amazing in that episode. I don't say this lightly, but it's my favorite Brad Dourif performance, and there's a lot to choose from. And that is a very Silence of the Lambs inference show as well. Episode, sorry, but very psychological, very personal episode for Scully. And it really changes like the direction of her character after that, where she does start to question faith, you know, a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, so many great moments I can talk about. I won't spoil too much because of people who haven't seen the show or hasn't seen all of it, but they do take her character into surprising areas, like a particular storyline, sort of early in season 2, but it's a storyline which came about because of Gillian Anderson's pregnancy.
Oh, the pregnancy storyline.
And they had to work around that. So it's just one of these funny like coincidences which TV can kind of do. And it actually improved the show in a way. It improved what they could do with Scully, but it was sort of an accident in many ways. So yeah, I've waxed lyrical loads of times. She is just so wonderful, and I think she is, you know, it's close. I do love my boy Fox Mulder, and it's hard to choose which one I'm more attractive to. It is pretty close. Yeah,
well, when you've got both of them on screen, you don't need to choose. You can just enjoy.
Yeah, I can get my X-Files porn. X is fitting then for it being porn. But yeah, I love
say they have the X factor. So that was terrible. Edit that out.
No, that's staying. So Dana Scully is my number 2.
Very nice. Well, again, obviously I haven't watched the X-Files, but I think,
hello,
hey Danielle, you came in just in time for our number 1 picks.
But you can watch the
watch the replay,
and I will do an edited version. Couldn't see Pamela Anderson in the X-Files, but it would have been different, that's for sure.
Would have been very different, I think.
A moment of very good. He's on a
hatred, the shade.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm a massive X-Files fan. In the house. Okay. Well, actually, hang on. Do you have your whole list at hand or not? If you don't, do you want to read through it up to number 2?
Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay. Sure. Okay.
So here's the whole list.
a quick read through, people. Let me just pull it up again. So we actually started at 50. There are 4 parts to this because obviously it takes so long. I'll do down to number 2, and then I'll get Keith to put up a picture of who he thinks my number 1 is.
Okay, that's
pretty sure he knows. Okay, so this was my list kicking off from number 50. 50, I had Kimberly Shaw from Melrose Place. Any 90s fans in the house? Marsha Cross's most awesome role before Brie Vanderkamp. Number 49 was Marissa Cooper from the OC, slightly more 2000s show, but again, I feel a very underrated and unfairly hated female character. 48, another unfairly hated female character, Laurel Lance from Arrow, which I'm guessing if Jason doesn't like Lana, he's probably not going to like Laurel either, so might have to get my knitting needles ready for that one. Number 47 was a more recent character, Farron Bryant from Pretty Little Liars Original Sin / Summer School, one of the new final girls, my absolute favorite, tough as nails, absolutely awesome. Number 46, Veronica Lodge from the shitstorm that was Riverdale. I love the Archieverse. Riverdale is a show unto itself, but I would never recommend anyone watch because it's such a mess. But Veronica Lodge is awesome.
Camila Mendes.
Yeah. Yes.
Very good.
Number 45 is one that Keith wants to kick me for, but it is Connor from Angel. I just have such an appreciation for that poor boy. I understand why people hate him, but I just love him so much. Number 44 is an underrated character from Supernatural, Anna Milton, one of our first fallen angels, who I absolutely loved. Yes, Melrose Place is a spin-off of 90210. Keith and I always talk about that. Jason, get out of here.
Very good.
Number 43, Ashley Marin, played by Laura Leighton, who we love from Melrose Place. Ashley Marin from Pretty Little Liars. She was one of the mothers, my favorite of the mothers. Number 42 is Paige Matthews from Charmed, the replacement sister who fit in so well that it was almost like she had been there all along, and who I can really only picture Rose playing. There were a few other actresses, that were floating around. I was like, no, I thought Rose was so good. Number 41 is Priyas Hussain from Dollhouse. Dollhouse, a very underrated Whedonverse show. Keith and I will obviously visit it at some point. And Priyas Hussain is such a great character, played by the Australian Deacon Lockman. Absolutely love her. She's been making her rounds around all the sci-fi shows. It's about time she got her own show. Someone give Deacon her own show.
That would be great.
Number 40, if Melissa's still with us, I'm not sure if she's still here, but number 40 is Catherine Pierce from the Vampire Diaries. Yeah, but she's low, Danielle. Don't worry. There's more to come. Rachel's list is so good when it went Halloween ends on us. Oh my God. Jason's not letting this Lana thing. He's not letting it go.
That's a deep.
That's a deep cut for Jason.
That is a deep cut, yeah.
I've lost major points with him. But so yes, number 40 was Catherine Pierce, the amazing vampire, 400-year-old vampire from the Vampire Diaries. Yeah, cool. She's the doppelganger. Love her. Number 39, Jin Soo Kwon from Lost. Absolutely love my man Jin. Such great development. One of those characters that when he starts the series, you don't like him, and then you find out everything about him, and you're like, oh, he's actually a completely different character than what we thought. Number 38 is Sergeant Terry Jeffords from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah,
absolutely love Terry Crews. So good in that role. I love that Terry is such a subversion of the angry black man, because he's the soft, caring mama bear. Jin from Lost was so good, Danielle. Absolutely. We're big Jin fans.
We're going to review Lost before the end.
We will. Terry Jeffords, just love him. Love that he dresses up as a princess for his daughter's parties. And Becca, I'm starting to feel better. All right, cool. I think that's just in general, not from my choices. Number 37 is Hannah Marin, played by Ashley Benson from Pretty Little Liars. She's my favorite of the original Liars. I still enjoy Pretty Little Liars as a guilty pleasure, but that show definitely went downhill.
Yeah.
Number 36 is, now let's see if Jason agrees with this one. Number 36 is Lex Luthor from Smallville, because I absolutely love Lex. I think Michael Rosenbaum is perfect in the role, and I just couldn't imagine anyone else playing him. It's my favorite version of Lex.
And that's fair enough. I didn't complain about that.
No, Keith was good with that one.
He's not as good as Gene Hackman, but
it's debatable, but we'll see. Number 35 was 11/Jane Hopper from Stranger Things. Absolutely love Millie Bobby Brown.
So that's good.
Good. I'm back in Jason's good books.
In the plus column.
So yes, 11 on Stranger Things coming in at number 35. Absolutely loved her character from the beginning, and I've loved watching her character grow over the last 5 seasons. She has had amazing growth, and she's got some great dynamics. See, I agree with Danielle. Yes, Rosenberg was the best. Jim was the first, but not the best. Rosenberg, definitely the best. Number 34 is a slight outlier because it's from a show that we don't really talk about, and I don't really actually watch that much, but it is Mellie Grant from Scandal. I do love, played by Bellamy Young, and she's fantastic. Scandal is kind of like if the West Wing was a soap opera.
Yeah.
But Mellie Grant is my favorite character from there. Such a badass female character. Absolutely love her. Now I've got my string of Buffyverse characters, so I'm just going to read them out. This was pretty much all my favorite Buffyverse characters, except for the ones that you guys heard in the top 10, came in here. So at 33, I had Faith Lehan, the Dark Slayer, one of like the earliest characters that I really identified with as a teen. Number 32 is Dawn Summers, who I think is completely underrated and definitely deserves more love. Number 31 is Xander Harris, which I know is an unpopular opinion, and I understand why people have issues with him. I personally love an underdog, and I just think that Xander gets really good growth over the series. And number 30 is Buffy Summers herself, who, when I was younger and watching Buffy, I never really connected with Buffy as a character, but I do love her now. 5x5, absolutely love it. Number 29 is Cordelia Chase. Love my Queen C. Love the growth that she gets on both shows. And I have a video in the works about her. And unfortunately, it will talk a bit about Charisma's treatment, because this is one area where you can't really separate character from actor.
Avoid it,
Yeah, it unfortunately gets really mixed up. And rounding out the Buffyverse characters for now is at number 28. Danielle agrees with Cordy. Nice. Number 28 is one of my favorite vampire girls, Darla, played by the beautiful Julie Benz. Another girl crush of mine. Just love watching her on the screen, especially when she's in the olden timey dresses and her bosoms are all pushed up and they look fantastic. So that's number 28. Number 27 is another vampire, Klaus Michelson from the originals, the hybrid, the arrogant schmuck himself who just does not care about who he's destroying or what he's doing, because he is at the top of the food chain, but he gets some great development in his show. Number 26 is Paul Ballard, another Dollhouse character. Again, another underrated show, and I think a bit of an underrated character. Paul's kind of the definition of the idiot hero, rushing in when he shouldn't, but he's got a good heart. Yes, I agree, Danielle. Darla was fantastic. And we've talked about this, but Drusilla definitely deserves more love. So number 25, I have Katara from Avatar, the animated series. Remember, people, none of his live action bullshit. Avatar, The Last Airbender from 2005. 25 is Katara, 24 is Sokka, and 23 is Aang. My 3 favorite Avatar characters. Absolutely love them. Number 22 is my man, Steve Harrington from Stranger Things, whom I loved from season 1. And I'm so glad that everyone caught up to me, because Steve is awesome and he just gets better and better. Number 21 is Catherine, the Empress, the Empress of Russia from The Great. Another fantastic character
I like that choice.
Absolutely loved. Elle Fanning, so good in the role, and I'm still gutted that they cut it short.
That's Steve Harrison.
He is the man, the hair, the legend.
and I did point out when we were reviewing, in the UK, Harrington is a brand of dog food, so I do.
Poor Steve.
So that's ruined it.
Number 20 for me was Jennifer Giroux, Special Agent Jennifer Giroux from Criminal Minds. I absolutely love AJ Cook, and I think that she brings a real heart to that character. Number 18 is another favorite vampire of mine, Caroline Forbes from The Vampire Diaries, who is one of the few vampires who actually thrives as a vampire and becomes better because she's a vampire. So I love that. Number 17 is Detective Amy Santiago from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who I absolutely adore. She was on my top 10 like oddball/nerds list. See a little too much of myself in her sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. Number 16 is Adele DeWitt, the awesome badass lady who runs the Dollhouse on Dollhouse, played by the beautiful Olivia Williams. I still can't believe they cast her to play Camilla Parker Bowles because, I mean, just look at those two ladies side by side. Like, it's not matching up.
Really?
It's not matching up.
Was that in The Crown?
In The Crown.
Oh,
yep.
Well, I didn't know.
I was like, really?
Wow.
And then I'll quickly just do the top, the next 14 because we've already done it on this list. So 15, Joan Holloway from Mad Men. 14, Betty Draper from Mad Men. 13, Lane Kim, Gilmore Girls. 12, Laura Hollis from the Carmilla web series. So technically not a TV series, but I'm sneaking it in here. Number 11, Carmilla Karnstein from the Carmilla series. Number 10 is Aaron Hotchner from Criminal Minds. Number 9, Brie Vanderkamp from Desperate Housewives. 8, Winifred Burkle from Angel. 7, Charles Gunn from Angel. 6, James Sawyer Ford from Lost. 5, my favorite wet sack of a man, Don Draper from Mad Men. Number 4, my favorite vampire, Angel from Angel. 3, Juliet Burke.
I've got my finger on the mute button, Jason.
2 is Lana Lang. And Keith, who is my number 1 favorite TV character of all time?
Gunn was a good choice.
Come on.
Okay, well, I think I was split between 2, and I'm surprised you didn't have this last one fall into this. Yeah, we know it's all good fun, Jason. I mean,
it is. We know you're just joking.
I mean, if she can get over my abuse, I think she can get over anyone's abuse. Well, it's obviously Spike. Spike's going to be your number 1, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is who I think is Rachel's number 1. 3, 2, 1, go.
And so it is. Prudence Melinda Hallowell. I love this woman. I mean, just look at her. I mean, she's gorgeous. This is one of Keith's earliest crushes back from when she was
Mr. Bean, yeah.
Brenda, Mr. Bean.
We all know that would be Jason's top of the list.
But Prudence Hallowell over here, when I first started watching Charmed as a teenager, this girl stole my heart. First of all, absolutely 100% identify with her on so many levels. I am also an older sibling who does not get the respect I deserve from my younger siblings, and who was pushed slightly into a bit of a parent role. I also have a similar personality to Prue's in that I'm outgoing and outspoken, and a lot of people tend to call me bossy and scary because of this, which I really truly hate. But yeah, Prue is one of those characters that it was like seeing myself on screen. It is insane how similar she and I are. I also think that in the 3 seasons we had her, she got a really good character arc. Like we get to see her move from like this slightly overbearing, overly responsible, kind of no fun oldest like sibling who's kind of part of a parent. Yes, yeah.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah.
She's a very and that's the thing. Shannon brought so much to the character. You know what? I get that, Danielle. I totally get that, and I think that a lot of people, when they were watching when they were younger, definitely saw Prue as more of an authority figure. And that's why she wasn't always the most popular sister. But like I said, for me, because I'm also an eldest sister, I totally identify with that. And that's why I loved her. Hey, D.
Welcome. Evening.
Nice.
Season 1 Prue is everything. Love me some Brenda from 90210.
Yes,
well.
Keith and I both love Brenda as well.
Underrated character, yeah.
We are Team Brenda, not Team Kelly. So yes, Prue Hallowell, love of my life. And yes, thank you, Russell. Thank you. That's so sweet. But yes, I agree. She does balance confidence and compassion very well. And yeah, I just love seeing her dynamic with her sisters, the way she and Phoebe have to navigate their relationship and learn to grow closer. And I just think that she's such a great character for the 3 seasons that we have her. I was so gutted when she left. It's luckily that I loved Paige so much, because otherwise, like, the new sister could have just been like, I could have just written her off because my love for Prue is so great. But yeah, she's my number 1. Prue Hallowell, love her to bits. So hopefully I have made up some points with Jason.
Okay, well, he seems to be on board, and
I think so.
I mean, I am surprised you didn't have Piper at some point, because I'm guessing you like Piper, but
I do, but I don't love Piper.
Not
the same way. Yeah, Paige and Prue have always been
your 2 favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're maybe a bit not so mixed on Phoebe as well, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Danielle's not wrong when she's saying I do give early years Phoebe. I've been told that too, but I'm a bit like Phoebe. And one of the reasons that I tend to not like Phoebe that much in the early seasons is because she does remind me a little bit of myself when I was young and irresponsible. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good pick, and it makes sense because we know that it is your favorite show. So, and I've said this before, but Brenda Walsh, Shannon Doherty was my first TV crush, and that's what made me watch Charmed because it was a new show, and
that's awesome.
I don't enjoy it as much as Rachel, but I still watch it from time to time, and it's a good sort of comfort watch, and
Yeah,
she
it
is. In those early seasons, she's a very good lead character. Well, one of the leads anyway, but as the older sister, she is very good. And yeah, no, she's a pretty badass character, but yeah, she's pretty well-rounded, and Shannon's really good in that role. So yeah, no, I can't fault that too much. So we got a few more comments. Prue is good, but I know why she left the show. Yeah.
Yeah, we all do, unfortunately.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably maybe cover Charmed someday. I mean, it'll be
that could be fun.
Probably in the season-long type videos because obviously a lot of episodes. But I think we'll cover it one day. Will be interesting to see both of your lists in 5 years. Makes me wonder how they would change because there's definitely characters that could have made my list that just missed out, and definitely characters who might get added once I watch those shows or rewatch them. So
I'm sorry to say this, Jason, but Lana will still be there. She's been with me since I was 18. She'll still be there in 5 years' time. Yes, Danielle coming in with some old school goodies. Yeah.
Well, 3 out of 4 isn't bad, Danielle.
Don't ignore Keith, Danielle. He's a hater. He just doesn't appreciate Tom Welling's biceps the way we do. Yeah, it's unpopular. I am full of unpopular opinions.
Yeah, I mean, probably liking Prue is not as unpopular. I think she tends to be quite popular, but probably Paige liking her is less popular out of the two.
Alrighty. Well, Keith, do you want to count us down? And then I'm going to guess. I have an idea now of because I thought Del Cooper was going to be your number one, but now I have another idea. So let's see.
Okay, I'll count us down. And I will say I did change my list a little bit, like at a certain point.
Cheating.
I think it was in between episodes 3 and 2. But so I'll run down. So 50, well, this is on a theme because it's the same actress who is your number one, but for her other big TV role, Brenda Walsh from 90210.
Nice.
A lot of nostalgia, my early TV crush, obviously. Love the Girl Next Door vibes from Brenda Walsh. Number 49 is one of those sort of outside picks, a bit of an outsider, and that is Smallweed. Nothing to do with his genitalia, as I said at the time, but he is a brilliant character from Bleak House, played by Phil Davis. So the BBC's version of Bleak House, really worth seeing. So Smallweed from Bleak House. Number 48, yeah, it is. I'm going back to a classic sitcom. And this is a choice which Rachel did approve of, and that is Sybil Fawlty from Fawlty Towers. Because speaking of BBC, and she is such a badass character. So
poor Sybil putting up with Basil. Oh my God, I would have killed him.
Yeah, love it, and a great episode name. That Sybil the Rat episode name. It's Sybil the Rat, isn't it?
Yeah. Basil the Rat.
Oh yeah, Basil.
You put Basil in Ratatouille.
Yeah. 47, a shared one, Dr. Kimberly Shaw, our favorite psychopath from Melrose Place. So that's 46, I'm going to an Idris Elba breakout role, and that is Stringer Bell from The Wire, HBO show. 45, an anti-hero, someone who I think Jason would have higher, but it's Dexter Morgan, the title character from Dexter, the Showtime series. everyone's favorite serial killer. Number 44, a choice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. My personal favorite character, it's Rosa Diaz. Nice. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, we agree on that one. Number 43, another fun, quirky outsider is Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls. So
yes, nice.
great performance from that actress. Standout character. Some gems of supporting characters on that show.
Yes.
42, Olivia Dunham from Fringe. Jason with his epic Orson again, which he's trying to get trademarked. But Olivia Dunham, another really cool, tough, but also emotional, vulnerable female lead from Fringe, which is a very underrated sci-fi show. So Olivia Dunham. Barbara Henriksen from Big Love, another HBO show. That was my 41, played by Jean Triplehorn, and she's a wonderful actress. That's a wonderful, underrated show, I would say. 40 is another crossover we have with each other, and that is Lane Kim. And I could have put her higher, but Lane Kim from Gilmore Girls is my number 40. And I think I agree, she might be my favorite character on the show as well. 39 is Donna Moss from The West Wing, one of my favorite nerds, but great character from that show. David Addison, who is the Bruce Willis character for Moonlight, and he was my 38.
Nice.
Really getting to show his early skills, his early comedic skills. 37 is another, I think, underrated character and an underrated villain, and that is Alex Krycek from The X-Files. That's the one played by Nicholas Lear. 36, back to Stranger Things, Dustin Henderson from Stranger Things. 35, my first 6 Feet Under character was Ruth Fisher, so the mother of the house. 34, Mr. Spock himself from Star Trek, the original series, except no substitutes. 33, another sort of legacy style character, Lieutenant Frank Columbo from Columbo. Number 32, Batman from Batman the 60s series / Batman the animated series and various type things, but the Cape Crusader himself. 31 is Elizabeth Jennings from The Americans. I know that's a favorite of Becca's, played by Kerry Russell.
Always good.
30, which might be my most modern character, but Misty Quickly from Yellow Jackets, so Christina Ricci, so good.
So good.
Number 29, too low for Rachel, but Don Draper from Mad Men.
Yeah.
Number 28, another wild card pick, but DCI Hastings from The Line of Duty. So probably my favorite kind of the main cast from that show. Number 27, and this show is so underrated, and it was tough to pick, but I went with Elena from Orphan Black, so the kind of manic, quirky, disturbing one. Yeah, and I've been watching Farscape for the first time recently, Danielle, and so far I'm enjoying it a lot. 26, a sitcom choice, another nerd, Niles Crane from Frasier. So this was a flip around, but 27 is my favorite bad boy, or one of them at least, from Buffy and a little bit of Angel. That is William the Bloody himself, Spike. That was number 27, wasn't it? No, number 26.
Yeah. 26.
No, I think number 20. No, it must have been number 25. Anyway, I'll carry on. Well, my next pick after that was, I think, Liz Lemon from 30 Rock.
Yes.
I might be okay. You found it. Yeah, 30 Rock, Liz Lemon, one of my favorite modern sitcom characters. So if I then go from 23, it was Root, played by Amy Acker. So again, we have a little bit of Buffyverse link with her, and she is one of my favorite modern and diverse TV characters. or
Nice.
favorite anti-hero. I'm just going to roll with it, Becca. I've lost the thread a little bit. Number 22 is Veronica Mars from Guess the Name of the Show, Veronica Mars. Number 21 is Edmund Blackadder, plays Blackadder. Shit, I should add Mr. Bean. I'm sorry, Jason. Number 20, I went for another Star Trek pick. Kira Nerys from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Sod you, Becca. It's a great show. You're wrong. Number 19 was Tom Wabsagans from Secession. That's the Matthew McFadden character. Number 17, speaking of hard to say names, but it's Al Swanigan from Deadwood. That's the Ian McShane character. Wonderful character. So that's... Yeah, I think my order must be a bit screwed up, but... Anyway,
that's right. You can edit it later.
I don't know what my number 16 was, because I changed the order at one point. So I'm just going to jump over and go to 15. So 15 was Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Speaking of, is someone's heading else?
No.
Okay. It's because I changed it halfway through and now I've got it on. Okay, number 15, Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Number 14 was Peggy Olson from Mad Men. Number 13, Diane Chambers, another classic sitcom character from Cheers. Number 12 is Claire Fisher from 6 Feet Under. Number 11, Special Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. Yeah, easily could have been higher. Number 10 was Toby Ziegler from The West Wing. Number 9 was Brenda Chenoweth from 6 Feet Under. Again, with that show. So number 8 was John Locke from Lost, of course. Number 7, another special agent, proving it pays to be a special agent. And that was Fox Mulder, another insanely sexy male crush of mine. Number 6, Buffy Summers herself, the Slayer from Buffy. Number 5, CJ Craig from The West Wing, another entry from that show. Number 4, Walter White from Breaking Bad. Number 3, Willow Rosenberg from Buffy. Number 2 was Dana Scully from The X-Files. John Locke was probably the most interesting. It's a good shout. I mean, I do love Lost and his character. And I know Rachel has issues, but I think she does like the character too. But
I find the character interesting. I just find so much about him frustrating. So yeah.
And we'll get to those. So
okay, yeah. Sorry, you go.
No, you go. You said you might have a prediction.
Yeah, so I honestly thought it was going to be Dale Cooper because I know that you love Dale Cooper so much. So when he was number 10, I was like, okay. So this is a wild guess. I could be completely off balance, but there's only one character I can think of now. Are you going with President Jed Bartlett from The West Wing?
It's a decent guess, but it's not. I'll reveal with an image.
Okay.
I've only seen season 1 of The Walking Dead.
I haven't watched The Walking Dead. Zombies are not really my thing.
Yeah, kind of thing. So no, if I'd seen more, maybe, but I've only seen the 1 season. Okay, so my number 1 TV character is from Twin Peaks again.
Oh, how did I forget Audrey? Oh, I'm terrible. I'm sorry, Cheryl and Fenn.
Joss Lyman. Oh, Joss Lyman would be Becca's top, which is, I mean, that's interesting because it's her favorite show, The West Wing, and again we've said though there's no weak characters, so it is so hard to rank the characters. Audrey Horne, I think, subverts some classic like tropes of that kind of show, like because she is presented as like the rebellious one underneath this beautiful veneer, really. And she's got some classic styling, her hairstyle, her sweaters, her sort of dress, which are very 1960s. But once again, it does that brilliant Lynchian thing of actually setting it in the modern, even though the style looks from a different era, sort of very out of time, and just her whole appearance and look is just so beautiful and like detailed, and Lynch captures her in like beautiful colors, like you see that distinct sort of red background with the arrows. She of course has one of my favorite scenes of any show, which is when she walks into the diner and she plays the song, and it's this weird trippy Lynchian song, and she just says, "Isn't it so dreamy?" and just starts dancing, and it's such an iconic, weird sort of scene. But yeah, she has complex relationships with the men in her life. I mean, I absolutely love the dynamic with her and Cooper. And it's the sort of thing where obviously you feel a bit uneasy shipping them because of the age difference. But I think if you could ship them in like the most innocent sort of way, I think you would. And you definitely love the dynamic, and they handle it so well on the show because obviously she's the one with the crush. And he's kind of like, well, you know, if the ages were closer and if I would be a lucky guy, but no, this goes against my duties, against my morals.
He's a good guy. Good
He's
Dale.
a good guy.
Dale.
But that is a beautiful scene, you know, the scene with them in his room. And yeah, they have wonderful chemistry, those two actors. Thank you, Danielle. That's sweet. Yeah, but she has so much fun playing the rebellious teen and kind of subverting that trope compared to some of the other characters who maybe feel a little bit more standard, like when it comes to teens. Yeah, and just some of the adventures she, like when she goes undercover in her, because her dad has like a spin-off business called One Eyed Jacks, which is like the sort of exotic dancing like business. And Audrey is so curious about his business, she goes down a rabbit hole where she like auditions to be a performer, and that's another great weird sort of scene where she like does the whole, it's like a cherry in her mouth and she twists it around sort of thing.
Oh yes, the good old tie the cherry stem in the top of your tongue.
That's my skill. That's my skill. So that's part of the audition. And I love the connection with her and her father, because her father, Benjamin Horn, who's like the one who owns the hotel, who is such a slimy like sleazebag, and he's into so many corrupt things around Twin Peaks, but like, and I mean, they have a love to hate you relationship, and there's little moments where you can see, you know, if he just reaches out to her a little bit more, you could have a good relationship. But it's never quite there. They're always at odds, and they always get off, especially Audrey, of like rebelling against her father and just revealing that, hey, he's not this picture perfect guy he masquerades at. So she's a fun anti-hero. Like you have a lot of fun with her. She's very stylish, very sexy, and yeah, a lot of depth, a lot of wit to her. And Sheridan Finn just, again, you know, goes into the iconic sort of status for that role, if nothing else. I think my only disappointment with Audrey, and again, I won't give spoilers for like the return season, because there wasn't enough of her in that season. I think that's my only disappointment, really, when it comes to her. But you know, great character, and has a wonderful dramatic end at the end of the original series 2 of the show. So
nice.
Yeah, really
that was cool. No, like I said, because I'm thinking, I'm like, who is it gonna be? And I'm like, is it Jed Bartlett? Because I know he loves Jed Bartlett. And then as soon as her picture came up, I was like, duh, how did I forget that? Like, how did I forget Audrey? But that's awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah, there's always those rumors that Lynch is going to do one more project. I think at this point he's just pranking the internet, but fingers crossed we might get one more before he kind of, you know, passes on or whatever, retires. But fingers crossed, there's always that hope out there. And there'll be one more. But such a fun ride, Twin Peaks, and yeah, great actress.
That was great. That was a fun stream. Thanks, Jason. Thank you for sticking around, and for everyone who came by. This was really, I had a lot of fun today. It was really good.
It's been a long one, but it's been great because I think there's definitely been a variety of picks that appeal to different people. Of course.
We have to have honorable mention, Mr. Bean.
I'm devastated that it didn't appear in my list. Maybe it will appear in the other 50 because I am going to do that stream. So I've done another 50 that basically is 100 to 51. I've not finished it yet.
That'll definitely have to do some more streams again, and hopefully lovely people will be back. Oh, by the way, I got a fun idea for a stream. So Keith does quizzes seasonally, and I won the quiz, so I have a prize. And I think I've decided what my prize is going to be, Keith.
Oh, no.
You and I are going to watch live on stream Spice World.
Fucking hell. I can't believe this bullshit. I never saw that coming.
Spice up your life.
I never saw that coming.
I knew.
I thought it was going to be something Smallville related or something Scream-free.
We're going to watch the Spice Girl movie, and I'm going to be singing and quoting, and you're going to love it.
Okay.
Look, Jason's already signed up.
At least it has Richard E. Grant in. That's
actually, Jason, here's a fun fact for you. You'll like this.
A hot take.
The Mr. Bean movie was the movie that prevented Spice World from becoming the highest grossing movie in Britain in 1997. It was outshone by the Mr. Bean movie. So there you go.
By the way, the good news for me is that we don't have to do it till late October. Because
I don't know. I think we could do it a little earlier.
Well, it's your birthday, so it makes sense.
We're doing Little Women for my birthday. This is my prize for the quiz.
We are. Well,
we will let you know when that will be, and you can come and watch me torture kids. It's not going to be torture. It's actually a fun movie. So,
well, I'm just going to say now, next month is not the night this sounds like, but next month is my birthday. So
yeah, so Keith is going to make me watch something really bad on stream for his birthday, like Pieces 2.
Yeah, Pieces 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah.
But no, today has been a really fun stream, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. And just to promote something quickly, because next week the quiz returns, but it returns with a twist because you guys can quiz me, and that's going to be next Wednesday/Thursday if you're Rachel, because I did change the date so Alison didn't get pissed off, basically.
Oh, okay.
So that's next week, Wednesday/Thursday, depending on where you are. So come with your questions in the chat. They can be multiple choice or they can be standalone. And that's going to be a fun stream, and there's more to come. And thanks for this. You can check out the other parts, as I said, on the channel. Rachel, if you want to quickly promote your channel.
Yeah, guys, if you want to, you can follow my channel, video essays on TV shows and media. Jason, I have a whole Lana Lang video just waiting for you. So I try to post as often as I can.
That's a good way to do it.
I don't know, Russell. I think it could be better than Sharon Stone. But yes, Rachel Macdonald.
Basic Instinct.
Oh God. So there you go, Keith. You're going to have to brush up on your phantasm. Jason's coming for you. But yes, guys, you can follow my channel for video essays. I post when I can. Unfortunately, I've got some health issues that prevent me from posting very regularly. But I think it's worth it when it does get posted. So come and follow me if you want to.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Thank you. My details are on the screen. You can support me for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com/.
Danielle, they can absolutely be trick questions, especially since his username on the boards that we first met on is Mr. Trick. So
that's a good point. And make a one-off donation at PayPal if you want. But thank you very much. Thanks for the new subscribers, and thanks for everyone who stuck around throughout the stream. But thanks. More streams to come, more content. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Bye, guys.
See you later. Bye.